Hello and welcome to episode 111. That's right, it's all the ones, and it's Gamers of the Lost Spark. I'm your host, James Thomas, and joining me this week, it's the other Spark on the pod. He's the man in Zack Snyder's back pocket, the man who will give a glowing review to any film with a cape, the man who has started a letter-writing campaign for Green Lantern 2. It's Anthony Chesson.
Hello! That's just so... it's just a couple of seconds in and you're already digging it and you know where I'm going. That is just absolutely superb.
Welcome, Anthony. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, James. I'm not too bad,
Cool.
sir.
And joining us as well is the other Spark on the pod. He's seen things you people wouldn't believe. He's watched attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Gloucestershire. He's watched sea beams glitter in the dark near Cheltenham. It's Manny Brown.
Hello, sir. How's
Good,
it going?
good.
That was superb, by the way.
I'm glad I don't get to write these too often, the intros. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
I was just going to say, you need to do that every week now.
Yes. How's your week been, guys?
Not too bad, not too bad. As alluding in the intro, I went to see Batman. No, I didn't. It wasn't Batman versus Superman. It was Justice League. I went to see Justice League on Saturday, and it's really funny because I obviously feel right now, I feel like I'm very kind of off-centre because I love Justice League. I think it's a great movie, and I'll get into that in a minute. Not just because Zack Snyder cozily puts me in his back pocket, but I absolutely, I just came out of Justice League and I really enjoyed Justice League as a whole, as a movie, as a trilogy, which is obviously Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and now Justice League. I just kind of enjoyed all of it, and also, not only did I enjoy Justice League, I actually like Star Wars Battlefront. And at the moment,
what's wrong with you?
Those two things.
Why should we ever listen to a word you say again?
Exactly, but these things are good, people. These things are good, but Justice League. So this weekend we went to see normal thing for us. Went to the IMAX. Went for a Five Guys afterwards. But Justice League. I won't spoil it. I kind of, there's one bit that I really want to talk about, but because no one else is talking about it. I've watched a couple of reviews, and no one's talking about this one bit that had me.
Is it the bit that's good?
It's all good. It's the bit that I mean, I have to. There is something that is bad in this movie, and I have to address that in a moment.
Is it the bit between the beginning and the end?
Shut up. So the bit that I'm going to spoil, spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to Justice League, I'm going to go for it. We at Gamers Lost Spark, we always skirt around spoilers and we never kind of go in. But there is a piece in this movie, and it's not a big spoiler, but there's a piece in this movie where they set up the baddie. So they set up the baddie, and they put him almost in a Lord of the Rings montage. They show this ginormous epic battle that has Amazonians and it has and it just has all these different races, men, and then it shows a Green Lantern. And then suddenly it was like even the lanterns fell, or something like battling and people from Atlantis, and then it just said something like, and even people from another world. And then you just see Steppenwolf, who is the bad guy in this movie. You just see him just take out this Green Lantern, and the lantern falls to the floor, and his ring just takes off. And that was it for me. I was like, yeah, I'm done. This movie is just amazing. And I grabbed Nicola's leg, because going in, I said to her, all that needs to happen is Ben Affleck needs to be awesome, which obviously he is as Batman. I said, and a Green Lantern has to appear at some point, even if it's just half of their face covers in green, in a green light, at the end, in the after credits. That's movie of the year for me, and I haven't seen Star Wars yet.
I just feel like you're setting that bar way too high. I mean, I don't know how they can hit that. To be honest. Expecting too much.
But when this happened, I almost dropped my popcorn because there suddenly was a decent Green Lantern. I love Green Lantern. And
you see, I put that in the intro as a pure and utter joke. I didn't realise there was actual truth to this.
Yes. But the one thing, so you're sitting there, you're watching this movie, this fantastic popcorn movie, and there are parts that Zack Snyder did, and there's parts that Joss Whedon did. And so Joss Whedon stood in, and he took over the directorial and writing job from Zack Snyder. And So there was lots of reshoots, but the problem is you can tell what is Joss Whedon and what is Zack Snyder, because the simple reason is...
Is there a lot of explosions and butt shots when it's Zack Snyder?
No. Superman, Henry Cavill is currently recording Mission Impossible 17, and he has a moustache. And instead of shaving off the moustache, they CGI'd over it.
Oh my god!
And it's the weirdest uncanny valley you have ever seen. As soon as he starts talking, you're like, what's wrong with his lip? Is he having a stroke? What is wrong with his lip? It's just the
That's
weirdest
amazing.
thing.
You just made me want to go and see it. This is the thing that sold it to me. I have to watch this.
So you've got a £200 million movie and
a £10 million moustache.
And Paramount, when they came to reshoots, wouldn't let Henry Cavill shave off his moustache. I mean, you could put a fake one on, if you for a £5.
Just always shoot him from the front. Never let him turn to the sides. Is that it? Otherwise, have a really thick top lip.
So he's there.
If he's filming something with a tash, though, do you think it would be more obvious to then have a fake tash inserted in the middle, or is it more obvious to CGI?
Or should they have just CGI'd it onto the rest of the film?
Flip of the coin. Yeah,
the edgy Superman.
Yes, what they should have done when Superman died in Superman 76, when he died and he was beaten by Doomsday, and when he came back, he actually had a full beard. So he had long hair and a full beard.
Is that what death does to someone from Kryptonia?
Yes. When you come back, you look like James Thomas. So they could have easily just skirted around it by doing that, but instead, you just look there and you don't know what is happening on screen because you just can't stop staring at his top lip because it's weird. It's just weird.
I've got to see it. I have to see it. I've heard stories about it being really, really, really bad. That's just confirmed it.
Did you see Batman Superman Dodge, Manny?
I did. Yeah, I watched the extended version because I'm a complete idiot. That was shockingly bad, I got to say. I know you love it, Anthony, and I'm really sorry, but
we can talk between grown-ups now, though. He doesn't have to listen. Because Matt, my brother, has basically warned me off it on every single turning. Because I keep going like, maybe I'll watch it. Just it is that perverse curiosity about it's so bad. I really want to see what Anthony sees in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Come with me. That's what you need to do. You need to go and watch these things because I was just...
I'd spent half the time watching the film and half the time watching you.
I was laughing. Again, it's my IMAX trick. There was only about 20 people in the cinema. No puns, you two. There was only about 20 people in the cinema, and so I was. There were some funny bits in there. There were some funny bits in there. Some great bits in there, and there were some really good shots where you saw all of the Justice League together. And without. The Flash was good. It's slightly awkward, not as good as Grant Gustin, who plays TV's Flash, who's amazing. But still, at the same time, he was really good. They also did a bit of an X-Men Quicksilver thing, where they had Flash running in slow-mo, a bit of a song, and then he kind of pushing objects around. But obvious aside, it was just really, really such a great film, and I really enjoyed it. I actually, still, right now, I want to go and see it again.
Wow.
Wow.
It's hard to take that in.
Mm.
It really is. Yeah, I don't know how to respond.
So Star Wars Battlefront, that's really good too.
I guess in a similar way, I actually got to round to seeing Thor this weekend. We thought we'd try and catch... And we had this very weird situation where, because it was the launch weekend of Justice League, Ali and I went to the cinema and we got the tickets through... like the machines on the way in, so didn't actually interact with any human beings. But when we got to the barrier where they come to check your tickets, Batman was there. The staff... Well,
actual Batman.
It was a weird one where I think some of the staff dressed up. So you had this man dressed in full, like, it was the padded bodysuit. And he was there with the full mask, and he was properly into it. And he was like, "Thank you for your tickets. Enjoy your film." So if you're going to go for it. So I really appreciated that. And then the weird thing was, at the end of the movie, the Marvel movie, Batman came in with a brush and a dustpan to come and sweep up. It's like, is this what has Justice League bombed so much so quickly? This is your second way of making funds at the moment this weekend. So poor man.
this is your penance.
Yeah.
But it is quite interesting because the box office sales for the weekend are in, and it is quite low. It is. It's 98 million. I was watching a review today, and someone was saying, what kind of a world do we live in where 98 million is seen as a failure? And that's, I guess, when your movie costs 200 million. That's
the thing is, even if it's a failure, that's like week one totals, and fair enough, there'll be a tail on it as it drops off, but they'll make that back alone off Blu-rays and franchising off the TV rights to other countries and what have you. It's these kind of things, because didn't they say even like Waterworld made money in the end? It was just that immediate burst of cash is the real tell.
It's like Kevin Smith. Most of Kevin Smith's movies, they don't make the money in the cinema. They make them on home release, on DVD, on Blu-ray, on video back then. And that's exactly where they get their money from, and they get their money back in abundance.
Yeah.
But everything's got a massive long tail nowadays, isn't it? That's the thing.
Exactly. But I have to say, this film had some great moments. There was a moment right at the start, another geek out moment, and then I'll move on. And Manny, you can start talking, so I can shut up. There was a moment. It's all good. Moment at the start where you're in Gotham. So you're in Gotham. There's a water tower there, and you're in Gotham.
This was at the start.
Yes.
Okay, this set the tone for the entire movie for you.
Movie of the year for me already. There was a water tower, and then this burglar is creeping out of a window, and it just cuts across, and Batman is just sitting there in a very comic book like pose. He's just sitting there, and then he just attacks this burglar, and I was just like, this is incredible. And then the best thing about it, as this scene started to build, it started to play Danny Elfman's Batman theme from the 1989 Batman. So
that's pretty cool. Actually.
I was
that is pretty cool.
I was just like, yes. It made me want, especially with J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. That made me want a Batman movie.
I've got a question for you. Is there a bad superhero film? And if so, which one is it, according to the Chesson household? There's got to be one, right? There has to be one.
Yes.
That you didn't like.
There is.
Okay.
There is.
There is only one.
The last X-Men Apocalypse.
Okay.
There you go. That is a movie that I'm
Brilliant.
just like...
Okay. Just checking.
Nah.
There is a quality bar deep within him somewhere.
Yes.
Somewhere, yeah.
It was quite funny the other day. Nicola was getting ready for bed, and she was flicking through the TV up in the bedroom, and Daredevil, Ben Affleck's Daredevil was on. So suddenly I just jumped on the bed. I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this for ages." I just sat.
Oh God, that film was so bad.
No, it
was so bad.
It really wasn't. But yes, but like I say, so Batman vs Superman. I love it. I think it's a great movie. I just think it was really good because I did come out and I did tweet and say they've done it, and I still think they've done it. They have raised the franchise. It's nowhere near as good as Marvel, but they definitely has raised the franchise. But one of the great things about it was that when I came out, Nicola, who hates Batman vs Superman with abundance, I can't watch it now with Nicola because she just picks holes in the movie as you're watching it, and I just want her to go away when we're watching the movie. And she was like, I really enjoyed that. That was a really good movie. So I was like, oh, okay, you're my barometer because I think everything is awesome. But she even enjoyed it, and we were chatting about it in Five Guys, going, how cool is this bit? How cool is this bit? So Nicola even thought it was quite good.
Oh, fair play. There's just something to it. I need to see Wonder Woman, actually. I still haven't seen that, but I figure I should watch that first before I go and see the Justice League. Otherwise, I won't get a lot of it, I'm guessing.
It's not as tightly packed as maybe a Marvel movie or something like that. If you miss out on a Marvel movie, you could miss out on a bit of purpose, a bit of continuity. With this one, not really. It's referenced maybe twice, and there is a big scene that's on Themyscira, which is where Wonder Woman's the Amazonians are. So yeah, it might be worthwhile just doing that, just so you can get the full, kind of quality of it.
Cool. I will do that for sure.
So moving away from yes. How's your week been, Manny?
Not bad at all, actually. Went off to see Queens of the Stone Age on Sunday. I believe you're both fans. Is that right?
Oh yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen him. I must have seen him 4 or 5 times now, but I haven't seen him in a decade or so.
Wow.
And I've never been to Manchester Arena either. So yeah, heading up there was fairly special. They are fantastic. Like this year's version, because I mean that band lineup changes pretty much every 2 or 3 years. This year's version is great. I quite like the last album, and I don't think it was quite as good as like Clockwork, which is one that they sort of previously brought out. But this one is a lot more sort of live friendly. It's a lot more upbeat songs, a lot more dancey songs. So it's really good to see them live now. And Manchester Arena is fantastic. I don't know if you've been there before.
No, it's not.
Either of you?
No, I've never been. No.
Yeah, so I feel like half the time we go to stadium gigs, you sort of you sort of lose something with the band because they feel like they're so far away, and you know the sound quality is shocking. But Manchester kind of gets it pretty much spot on because it's big enough for it to be special. But the audio is stunning, and it's really, really well thought out. So that was kind of cool. I was expecting it to be a bit disappointing, but no, brilliant.
They got
Absolute
good
top
stage
form
presence
from
as well.
everybody. Yeah, have you seen him before, you two?
No.
I think you have, haven't you, Anthony? You've not seen him shoot.
I've seen him in Brixton, so I saw him at Brixton Academy. No, sorry,
Yeah.
Hammersmith Apollo. Hammersmith Apollo, I saw them.
Yeah, they're sort of hit and miss. Like they're either really on it, or they just cannot be asked, and they just stand around and sort of don't really do much at all. Don't talk to the crowd. This time they were absolutely on it, totally. Like full of energy, full of talk, full of banter. Yeah, great gig, absolutely fantastic gig. So that's kind of taken up most of my week, really. Outside of that, I've just been brewing beer.
I know you brewed a few batches in the past, but what have you got in the what do you call them? The not
fermenters.
Yeah,
Well, it's like a glass carboy. I think you'd probably call the thing that I've got. So I'm brewing a pale ale currently. I know you've tried one of the ones previously, the pair of you, but this is very different to that.
Right.
It'll be super hoppy. I'm going for something really fruity.
Oh, okay.
Really nice.
Oh, awesome. Excellent
Yeah.
stuff.
So how do you put together the
When would that be
recipes?
ready?
Is it because you don't do them out of the kits, do you? You try and do them from scratch.
Do it from scratch. Yeah, there's a really good book by former Bake Off superstar James Morton. If you remember him from I think season 3,
I've got
season
one of his
4, something like that.
books. So that's one of my go-tos.
Same, yeah. So he's written a fantastic book that takes you through the whole thing from scratch, basically. So it takes you through all the steps of brewing it from scratch, from picking out the grain to picking out the hops to picking out the yeast that you want to use. So I've sort of done a few of his recipes, but then this is the first one that I've tried to make myself. So it could either be brilliant or shocking. I'm not sure yet, but it smells nice.
That's cool.
That's about all I can tell you.
You've had moderate success so far, haven't you? I think was there one Duff batch?
One Duff batch that was really, really bad, yeah, but I've sort of fixed the problem with that now. So the other 3 have come out okay.
Yes.
So I'm hopeful for this one. Nice. But the pair of you will probably find that around Christmas.
So cool. Yeah. I really enjoyed the you did an Anchor Steam, didn't you, when we went to EGX, when we had the pizza night at Thomas's, and that was amazing. That was really nice. I brought some beer up with us, and James had a stacked fridge, but that was just really hit the spot.
Oh, brilliant. I got 2 bottles of that left, so I'll try and keep them back for you.
Oh, yes.
Although they might taste terrible now, who knows.
Mine. I'm actually, it's quite funny because we're off to San Francisco in a couple of weeks' time, and we want to go to the Steam Brewery because they do a tour. So we want to kind of, while we're there, there's a couple of places, 21st Amendment, which is a microbrewery that does amazing beers and really good food, and also the Steam, the Anchor Brewery, not the Steam Brewery, the Anchor Brewery.
That's right. Yeah.
So we want to go to theirs as well and kind of have a bit of a tour while we're in, because we're going to San Francisco and then Sausalito, so while we're in San Francisco, we want to do a couple of those kind of things. So I'm looking forward to hopefully trying some, because they have a Christmas ale at the moment.
Very nice. Hey, if you could talk to them, if you can bring some yeast back through on the plane, that would be great. I'm not sure if you can get away with that or not. I don't know how you'd explain that as well. Actually,
could I just put it in my
suitcase full of yeast? Is that okay?
Can I put it in my suitcase?
Is that all right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it smells a bit funky, but it's fine.
I've got a TSA approved suitcase, so they can take it out if it's not.
Yeah, perfect. All right, man. We'll chat after.
Leave that to me. So, James, how's your weekend been? How's your week been?
Not quite planning to be yeast mules, but it's been good. It's been good. So I went to see Thor at the weekend, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Needs more Goldblum, but it was a very good film. But apart from that,
it was quality Goldblum, though, wasn't it? There wasn't a lot of it, but it was very, very high quality Goldblum.
Yeah, they packed it in.
Yes.
They just reduced it down to the utter essence, and I did see an interview with him the other day, and they basically, I think he admitted that the director, again, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name, they basically hired him when, like, you want me to play Jeff Goldblum is like, yes, that's it. So it's just, I think for me, it was just like when he started tinkering on the keyboard, the piano, whatever he had in the that was just quality Jeff. But yeah, thoroughly recommended. Thoroughly recommended, and that's from, like we've discussed in the past. I've been going off superhero movies, but there's not that much superheroing. There's a lot more sort of like comedy and personal stuff in there, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So it sort of helped balance out, and so when the action did come, it meant something. It was good.
Yes.
Totally agree.
But yeah, I have been. It's descending into nerddom as far as I can get, really. As for the last year or so, I've been playing D&D with some friends from Ali's work and some friends from my work, and I've finally taken the step and become a dungeon master myself. This week was the first time I started running a campaign for a few friends. I think it's the nerdiest thing I've ever done, and I really enjoyed it. It was great because when I used to do when Manny and I used to do the blog and the websites, Ali always used to accuse me of having very purple prose, like very descriptive, very flowery stuff, and that is playing into this no end, because it means I just get to go off on one. I can get to try and describe the layouts, the villages, the dungeons, the monsters in just the most colourful way possible to try and bring it to life for the adventurers I'm working with, and it's just a real different thing to try, because I guess when you're actually like playing as a hero in Dungeons and Dragons, it's tantamount to, like, you know, the role-playing games that we all play from BioWare and Bethesda. You are effectively, especially with Fallout, you can see those dice being rolled and you can try and weigh up your chances of doing stuff. So we've all effectively rolled a d20, whether we like to admit it or not, I think, if we played those games. But then actually becoming the adventurer or the hero, you try and put you can try and inject more of your personality into it. I think you can try and inject even more like the cinematics. Like, you can try and do effectively anything. It's up to the dungeon master to decide whether you can or not. And then, so to try and facilitate that, there's something I really like about it. Because when I've played, when I used to play WoW, I used to play support characters. And I think I do that in a fair amount of like the co-op games. I like being like the healer, or I like being, you know, the sniper, or someone who's backing up the main guys a lot of the time. And I think this sort of like is plumbing into that, where I get to facilitate the other people having the adventure at that point in time, whilst also having fun myself, create this world around them. And nerdiest thing I've ever done, but it's absolutely fantastic. Been really enjoying it so far.
How do you even start doing something like that? I mean, do you come up with a story first and then figure out what you want the players to do, or how do you
So this first round, the nice thing is, like, D&D have got so many books and expansions. Like for someone who's starting out at the very beginning, like myself, I've just gone for an off-the-shelf one. So that means there's the plot all set out, there's the layout of the dungeons all set out, and what the monsters you might meet. But it's quite sparse on certain details. So it'll give you a list of like the locations you can visit in a village, and it will give you the names and probably the aims of a certain set of NPCs. But then you've got to flesh it out. And they've got in like the Dungeon Master's guides, they've got random tables that you can roll on to create these characters. And so there's a lot of support there. I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near brave enough to set up my own campaign for a good long time yet. But just rolling on a set of like characteristic tables, or like there was like 8 different tables that allowed you to say the personality, like a unique feature, maybe someone's like dark secret, to help you build an idea of a character. Then it's up to you to pick and choose what you want and get it across. So yeah, we ended up with like an innkeeper who loves the general store lady over the road, but actually really likes drawing, but is actually really bad at it, but also loves puns. And it was like lots of layers and layers and layers that like strip back what you want in case it's overdoing it. But it was good.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. So how long did the evening last? How long did your playthrough last?
We only did it in about just over 2 hour stint, but that's the first instalment of many. So they've just done the first bit of the village, where they got to go around asking questions and figuring out what the quest line should be, because I gave them the hint that they've all turned up in the town where there is a citadel that has sunk to the bottom of a chasm due to earthquake, volcano type thing from years ago. and then just like, right, go and explore. And from that, they went to inns and blacksmiths, and little by little, they found other little nuggets they could go and find about in the Citadel itself. So again, almost like just when you reach Megaton in Fallout 3, it's like, yeah, you've got that one main quest line, but get in there, and you can find all the side quests or the mini quests or the little treasures that you can try and pluck up to get yourself some more loot.
That's fantastic.
Very
That's
cool.
so cool. So when's the next session? When's the next part? Are you leaving them hanging for a while?
We're going to try and do it fortnightly. So it's got me a couple of weeks to gen up on the next part of the dungeon. But it's got to the point now where the dungeon forks as soon as you get in. And so I could pretty much be spending hours doing some prep that they'll never see.
Yes.
You can see why game devs that do Walking Dead and Life is Strange, they don't spend time doing 64 different alternate endings with lots of branching, because it's a lot of frickin' work.
Could you in theory have a party that splits in two so they both get to go off into
yes, in theory. Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Or if they just go down one way, if there's a locked door on the other one, I just bolt the other one onto the end and they can just carry on. But yeah.
Perfect.
That's so cool. That sounds like great fun.
Pulling back the curtain.
Yeah, it's been good.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, and with that, we should probably try and get on to some more digital games. So, guys, what have you been playing this last couple of weeks?
Probably the similar things to you guys to some extent, but maybe something different as well. I've been playing a lot of Mario the past couple of days. Should we talk some more about it, or have we podcasted out about it? We are talking about Odyssey, not the inferior other games that we shall not talk about yet.
So how are you finding Odyssey? How far have you got through?
I don't know if we can do spoilers on Mario games or not, but I mean, it's safe to say there is a Bowser's Castle. I think that's not a spoiler. In this case, so I've just hit that basically. So I presume I'm not too far off the end.
And it's gorgeous.
But at the same time, I've heard,
and it's gorgeous.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's
absolutely
beautiful.
beautiful.
All of the different clouds, all the different colourful clouds are amazing.
Yeah.
They just look. It's a real Japanesey kind of looking castle, isn't it? It just
absolutely
so stunning.
That's what really won me over, because I was just expecting when you said, "Oh, we're off to Bowser's Land," I just imagined a retelling of all the other castles that you see in big grey blocks and very fortress-like, but the amount of character they inject just with that oriental twist, I thought was superb.
It's beautiful, yeah. I mean, the only thing I've seen so far, because I think I've got sort of maybe a third of the way through it, is a massive sort of sliding fortress kind of thing right off in the background, and then, like you say, loads of green and pink clouds everywhere, which look fantastic. But are you guys finding the art style a bit weird in that game? Because it seems really, really odd.
Disjointed.
Level to level, it's just completely different.
Yes.
Some of it I love. Other levels I don't get at all. I don't know how they sort of ended up doing the things that they've done.
Yeah,
I'm not the villains of the piece. The group, the gang that kind of circling around.
The rabbits. I can't.
Those are great.
Riddles. I can't think what they are.
Yeah, something like that.
No,
I don't like those. I don't like the art style of those. They every time they appear, they kind of take me out of this game. I'm enjoying it, and then suddenly I'm like, "Ooh, this is it's a bit weird." They look like they should be Mario'd a little bit more, and they should be a little smoother around the edges. But yeah, they're the one thing that that do jar me a little.
They
bit.
also feel like they're really almost superimposed, because for anyone who hasn't played it, this isn't a spoiler because you've seen it very early on. There's this flying ship that you get in Mario since Mario 3 that comes around, and there are 4 or 5 evil rabbits on there dressed like they're from a Wild West town. And just every now and again they'll leap down and give you a boss fight. But they almost seem superimposed, because you never see them interact with anyone else other than Mario when they have a beef. It's like Bowser has disowned them. He's got no interaction with them at all, and they just fly in from this. It's almost, I guess, the Joss Whedon scenes in Justice League. They have been just added afterwards, just quick, we need to put them in. We need to get them in somehow.
Talking about moustaches, moustaches on everything in that game. It's fantastic. Superimposed everywhere.
They are called
it's
Brodors. Brodors is what they're called.
Brodors, that's right.
That's a group.
Yeah.
So.
I'm finding the levels that they do that are meant to be sort of realistic, or not real, but in that style, where they've got proper grass and trees and stuff. They just look a bit odd.
Yep.
The rest of the stylized stuff, I think, looks really good. There are a few kingdoms that I don't really want to spoil, but the ones that they've given sort of primary colours and stuff look fantastic.
Yes.
But every time I see a grass texture or a bush or something, it just looks a bit like it's straight out of the N64. a little bit weird. That said, that game is stunning. I think it's one of my favourite Mario games, and we'll have that conversation at some point, I'm sure. Sheep. Because you've been playing the other Mario game that we don't speak of.
Yes. I would like to say I do enjoy Mario Odyssey. I think I have warmed to it since last time I spoke to you, because the further you get into it, I think the more platforming you have to do. And I think this is what I was definitely missing. In the first few worlds, it very much seems like they're trying to open you up to the idea of there is stuff to do. Look at all this stuff. Have you seen the stuff? They are just trying to bombard you with all the side quests that are there. And as you progress, and I think New Donk City I absolutely hate as a level. I do, because
Really?
it's not a Mario level. It's a GTA level. They just happen to have some platforming in.
But that's the music.
Okay, so
I
the
know.
music
Oh,
and
the music.
and
I'm
The
just
Mario
like-
dancing,
the
he just looks
music
amazing.
and the payoff at the end of the level just about made me just like forgive it. Like the actual payoff at the end of the New Donk City level is worth suffering through it. But I was just disappointed that there was like, you think of a city like, even like think of like Assassin's Creed that we're going to talk about later as well. They used the city in Assassin's Creed as this playground, and it wasn't a playground in Mario. You had to find like little like the sparks that you have to go onto the wire to and then shoot up to get to the top of buildings, or you had to go through doors to get to the top of buildings. Like, this is Mario. His raison d'etre is jumping. Like, why aren't you building the city as like a set of blocks that I can jump around and explore? And it made me furious. But after that, I sort of calmed down slightly. And the few levels after that are more primary colour, that are more... I guess you've earned the right to be there, so they feel like they can, ratchet up the difficulty slightly. And it's not that they're tough, it's the fact they are actually asking you to make an effort to move around the level, to go and get things and perform some jumps to get there, rather than just walk across a giant flat desert. And that at least started appealing to me more.
Yeah, I think some of the things they bring in that level in New Donk City as well, like the things where you do flick yourself up the side of the building and stuff, they kind of make good on those later on, because there are some really, really good puzzles later in the game that use that mechanic, and not just for, like you say, flinging yourself up the building, but actual sort of platforming and puzzling with that. So I guess they kind of introduce it there and then sort of make good on the promise later
absolutely.
on, I would say. But they do that with quite a few of the mechanics.
It's really interesting. I think last time you were on, James, you were talking about kind of there wasn't enough platforming in Mario Odyssey. But has that changed for you? Because I think when you get to the Luncheon Kingdom, there's some really tricky platforming that had me on the train coming home from work, just like almost kind of like a little bit raging, because it was really hard with the handheld. I was thinking, I really need to just get my Pro Controller and play this on a big TV.
Blame the tools.
Yeah, that's it, absolutely. But I managed. But when you do it, you kind of the thing I love about kind of when you're playing games is that something that's really tricky and you can't quite do it, but then when you do it, when you achieve that, the euphoria that you feel, like opening a loot box, you get that kind of little, there's that little moment, exactly. It's just like that little kind of that little moment. But so, are you finding the platforming rewarding and challenging now?
Yeah, I think the Luncheon Kingdom was the one that turned me around. I think that and the following few, including Bowser's Castle, I thought actually really delivered what I wanted from it all. But it's like I don't dislike it. It's just not up there as my favourite game. And I can see how they've done this. I can't remember if I said this last time round, but you can see how this is a Mario for the Switch, because it's built in having this. You've got so many things to do. If you've just got 5 minutes on a bus, you will be able to do something.
That's it. I might have ruined the end of the game for myself as well, because the sort of paintings that you can go through.
Yes. I know exactly which painting you're talking about.
I think I've seen the last level, and I'm kind of gutted they put that in. I thought they should have left that one out.
Paintings?
Put all the rest in, that's fine, but left the last one out, because I'm pretty sure I know where I'm
I like
what are these
Which is a shame.
paintings?
I love
Where
the fact
are they?
Have you not been through them?
Everyone listening in who hasn't played this will not know what we're talking about, but everyone who has played it will know exactly what you're on about right now.
Yeah, indeed. So in each level, Anthony, there's like a painting that you can find that you can go through, that transport you off, that takes you off to a different kingdom, and it basically picks one at random for you and takes you off to a separate part of that kingdom that you can't get to unless you go through the painting.
Oh wow, I haven't found.
So
any
you can
of
basically
these.
see other kingdoms without visiting them first, kind of thing. And like I say, I think I've ruined the ending. Damn it!
Wow.
We need to talk once you're finished. We need to talk once you're finished.
Yes, indeed, for sure, for sure.
Oh my god! No, I'm trying to save mine because I've got that long plane journey. I'm trying to save it. I'm just playing little bits, but it's my go-to game when I'm on the train. I'll do a quick Stardew Valley day, and then I just want to play that. I actually got Doom today from Boomerang from the Switch, and so that might kind of just distract me so I can keep Mario, and because like I say, I've got like 20 hours on a plane where all I would want to do is just play Mario, so I just want to try and keep it, but at the same time that just kind of tantalizes me and pulls me back in.
It's quite a good I found Mario to be quite a good game to play with someone else in the room as well, because I've been playing it when Faye's been watching, and she picks out things that I just don't see at all. Wow. So she'll spot a bit off in the distance and say, aha, I know where there are some purple coins. And I'll be like, how did you see that? I have no idea. So obviously as a player, you're looking pretty much down the middle of the screen. If you've got someone else there looking off to the side, you can pick out a whole bunch of stuff a lot quicker, I think, than you could do previously. So yeah, it's good though. I think it's a pretty damn good Mario game.
I like it. I'm not, but do you know what I also like? I like Mario Sunshine. I feel I can finally redress the absolute horrendous slurs that you guys have been putting onto this game, because a bit of a sidebar to agree with. I bought a bit of kit in the last couple of weeks, because when I got my telly in the summer, I didn't realise that they're basically pulling out all old ports from the new tellies. I mean, I guess it had to happen someday, but it just has HDMI. There's no composite, no SCART, no components, nothing. So I've invested in a bit of kit called an OSSC, an open source scan converter, and it takes RGB SCARTs and composite signals and converts them into really nice, rock-solid, stable HDMI signals. So it basically just upscales. The GameCube is the one I've been using it most for, although I have RGB converted my N64 as well. But it just makes them really nice and stock and stable. Because anyone who's put a SCART in recently, I think, or a composite to modern tellies, probably finds that it's got a bit of a shimmer, as modern tellies don't really cope with that signal too well. It's amazing what the CRTs used to hide behind their blur. But it means that we had a few friends over the other night, and we had WarioWare out, and WarioWare for a 15-year-old game looks absolutely stunning. I think because a lot of it might be because it's 2D and it's really bold and colourful, but it looked absolutely amazing. But I've also been playing Mario Sunshine, much to my brother's disgust, on this, and
most of the world.
And all of our disgusts.
Right,
this is the Batman versus Superman of the Mario world.
So you cannot talk, Jasper. So, out of interest, what have you two got against Sunshine? Let's do this in a polite, nice discussion.
The only thing I can recall about that game is getting the GameCube and playing it for about 2 hours and thinking it just controlled really badly, and I gave up pretty much.
Yeah, pretty the same over here as well. I was playing it. I was trying to do. I think I was trying to do a jump where you had to jump on a wire. It was almost like a telephone pole, and you had to jump onto another one. And I was doing that, and I just couldn't do that. And I was trying, could not do that. So I just put the controller down and took the disc out, broke it. No, I just took the disc out.
Pro controller back then, could you, Anthony?
No, exactly. I just was like, "Where's the wave bird? It must be the wave bird." And so I just it just felt so wrong, and the flood. Was it flood?
Yep.
This is the mechanic.
Yeah,
that mechanic was just terrible. So I just put it away and played the Wind Waker again. I think.
I think
I vaguely remember there being something really funky about the camera control in that game.
Oh my god, the camera control. Okay, that is the one thing I will completely agree with everyone about. It's inverted on the horizontal. It's insane.
This is probably
you can't turn it off.
So I got to the point where
That's probably what it is, then.
At one point in time I was playing Mario on the Switch when Ali was using the big telly, and then when it was free I'd dock it, maybe finish a level, and then go over to Sunshine, and then just the amount of times I'd kill myself because I turned the camera the wrong way, because of course it's inverted so I'll agree with that,
because that was post Halo and all the sort of first wave of first person shooters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you probably coming over from those and then hitting that horizontal movement. That must have been it. I think that must. It was
bad. It was bad. It's so for a while I tried to put Odyssey in the same invert on the horizontal, and that it just about worked.
Oh, God.
But apart from that, because I really liked the flood mechanic, because the flood was basically a giant hose that you had on the back of your just strapped to Mario, wasn't it? And I can just really remember enjoying some of the puzzles where you had to clean away the goo. And, this was back at the GameCube era, so like 2002, 2003, I think it came out. And I guess it was new shiny tech back then. It's like, look, you can disperse ooze. But it was a mix between the fact you could use that for puzzles, you could use the flood for hovering, which is still useful, and I guess like the fact that they would just take away the pack from you and give you the pure platforming levels. And there's still some of that there. I don't think the controls have survived as well as some, because the GameCube controller itself, which I also really enjoy, I know Manny is going to sneer at that one. It is also it's not horrendous. It's just not that subtle. I think people have learned to make sticks and sensitivity of movement slightly more subtle. So when I was first getting used to it, I literally just jumped from Mario and hurled myself off the first ledge because I had no idea of maybe a little baby step. It's all right though. I've probably put about 5-6 hours into it off and on here and there, and I will continue because I am enjoying it. It hasn't aged the best of the Mario games. I think Galaxy and World and everything else will survive the test of time longer, but I still just have such a soft spot for this game.
Yeah, just going back, how are you finding the OSCC, by the way? Has that been good? Because I've been thinking about getting one, but wanted to wait to talk to you about it.
Yeah, next time I'm down Cheltenham way, I'll bring it down. But it's really cool. Good. I think because the GameCube automatically has RGB out, but I needed to mod the N64 to get it, and it has been worth it. I think in the same way when I got my analog NT for the NES, and that just produced such sharp pictures for my retro consoles. There was a phase when I just wanted to upgrade, to get that crystal picture. But I think now that with the new telly and the lack of connections, I'm thinking this is now just a necessity, so I can play them at all, let alone make them look better.
Yeah, indeed. Because there's a Japanese one that everyone tends to buy, which is called the Framemeister, I think. But that costs about £300, and this is about 150,
something like that.
Something like that, 140, 150. Yeah, great stuff.
Nice little bit of kit.
Oh, nice.
Yes. I've also played. I've been playing some Wolfenstein. I don't know if you guys have played that or are interested in it at all.
It's my next game. I finished. We'll get on to what I've been playing later. I finished Call of Duty, and so my next game is Wolfenstein. So I put it in. I've installed it, and that's kind of. And I think I had a bit of a play with it before because I played it for the first couple of hours. Up until the bit where you have the female villain, and she's kind of berating her daughter. I think she does that for most of the game, but I think that was the bit kind of where I stopped. So really just kind of as it starts to open up. But so how far have you got? What?
I managed to play through the whole thing last week.
Wow.
It is it's a weird game. It's kind of, it feels like it's been made by 3 different teams kind of thing, because but if you sort of break it down, the way that game plays is fantastic. It runs at 60 frames a second. Movement is brilliant. You're running around. Everything's super smooth. The feedback from the gunfire is great. The feedback from shooting enemies is fantastic, and it looks brilliant. Yes. I played it on the Xbox One X. It doesn't have HDR, but in 4K it just looks stunning. So the sort of nuts and bolts of it are great, really, really good. But the thing I don't understand is they built this super fast-paced shooter with dual wielding, with shotguns, laser rifles, all this kind of stuff, and then they throw you into stealth levels for the entire game, practically. I don't understand that. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that went through. Because at some point someone's gone, hang on, all we're doing here is just hamstringing the player from, for the whole game.
Are they actually good stealth levels? I mean, obviously you've said the combat doesn't work. No. Do you get anything from them, or is it just hey, crouch and go for it?
It's basically they've put stealth into what is effectively like a corridor-driven shooter level. So it just doesn't work. There's nothing you can really do outside of sprinting around and taking out these sort of captain figures, which then stop the rest of the enemies spawning in, which is fine. That bit's fine. But there's nothing else you can do. If you played Hitman, there's nothing you can set up in the level. There's no traps you can place. There's none of that. So it just gets really, really repetitious. And to be honest, it's so tough on normal difficulty as well because of that. Because they want you to play stealthy. They've taken your health down so far that it took me about 5 hours to figure out that they even had that HUD effect where you get low health, because as soon as you get shot, that's it. You're gone, basically. Stand there for half a second, you will get taken down straight away. And yet, sure enough, 4 hours in, I saw that HUD effect come on the screen. I was like, okay, there is health in this game. I didn't actually realise that. So I don't understand why they've done it, because it plays like the nuts and bolts are fantastic. It plays like a brilliant game, but they've designed it in such a way to stop you ever experiencing that, really, which is baffling to me. And then the parts where they do sort of open up and say, okay, just go crazy, they still keep you with the same amount of health and the same amount of armor, so you just get taken down in seconds, and it's like, this is not meant to be the kind of cathartic release section of the game that I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really oddly designed. It wasn't horrible, and the problem with it is as well, if you drop the difficulty on it, it goes in the opposite direction to where you can just basically walk through the entire thing, and nothing is a challenge. There's nothing there for you at all.
Because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to drop it right down to baby mode, because I think it has a bonnet and a dummy. I wanted to just, because I've heard so many people kind of saying some good things about it, that it looks amazing, but with the same criticism maybe that you have, and that you have this stealth mechanic that just seems to be shoehorned in. And I just wanted to experience the game, so I thought it's a boomerang rental. So I thought I would just get it, put it on the lowest level, and experience. Like I say, the opening level, I was finding a lot similar to what you were saying there, where I was just constantly just having to replay levels because I was taken down so easy. And I thought, well, maybe when I get a suit or when I get upgrades or something like that, it might help. But I was just thinking, I'm just going to drop this down so I can just enjoy it and not be frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, I would still say it's worth doing that, because it's worth seeing just for the story and the characters alone, because the story is one of the best that I've ever seen in that genre. It's fantastic. The writing in that game is stellar. It's so good, and there are so many sections in it that just left me just flabbergasted that they actually managed to sort of take you through this fantastical version of World War II, which is populated with all these kind of meathead characters, but then somehow give them loads of nuance and loads of depth. Right. I don't really understand how they've done it, but it's fantastic, because you really do end up caring about these characters in this stupid game, which is great. There's one section right in the middle of the game, which I suspect anyone that's played it will know what I'm talking about, that is just fantastic. Like, it's just absolutely stunning. It was one of those sequences that just left me floored at the end of it. Like, I was just silent. I just half wanted to applaud and just half wanted to crawl under the sofa and go, what did I just see? Kind of thing. It's
well, I have to play it now just for that. Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, it's great because they play with you as well. They play with the character a lot, but they play with so that they play with the way that you think that the game's going to go, because you've got decades worth of playing shooters, decades worth of playing games, and they sort of mess with you a bit. Right. Not in like a cheesy sort of Bioshocky way, but it's different to that. It's a lot more nuanced stuff in there. So yeah, it's 100% worth playing, but like I say, with the caveat that actually playing the game is a bit rough at times, unfortunately.
That's really interesting.
I've got a theory on it as well, because I reckon, I think they balanced it. My guess is they balanced it for mouse and keyboard. Because I think playing through that game with the mouse and keyboard would make a lot of sense.
Easier, or at least more. The accuracy would be able to let you fly through a lot quicker.
Exactly that, yeah. So I think if you play this on a PC on normal difficulty, it's probably the way it should be played. But because on the console, they do have there is an option in there for auto aim, but even turning that on, it's minuscule. It's virtually nothing. And of course, because you're running through it so quickly with a thumbstick, it just doesn't really work.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting you say that, where this like kind of story takes you to places where you didn't quite expect it to go, which is a contrast to maybe the Call of Duty World War II that I was playing, where even though I was enjoying the campaign and went through the campaign, and I like to do this on every year I play a Call of Duty campaign, and that's it. I don't really kind of get into the multiplayer, have a quick look at the zombies, but I just play the campaign, and this was really just going where I thought it was going to go. It wasn't subtle at all. It was just they try to make you care about these characters. They try to make you care about the two main guys that you're kind of playing as one, and the other one's his buddy. They really do try to make you worry about it. But even at the end, where there's this big scene and there's this big ending, you still don't care. I still was just like, I am just pushing polygons from here down there, and I'm going to kill some other polygon. You just don't.
Did you press X to pay receipt X at any point in time?
Yes. But even to the point where they brought back the old mechanics when we were talking about before, where you had to kind of use your health, and occasionally you would forget about that, and you would hide and wait for it to regen and all of that. But it was great. I enjoyed it. I finished it. But at no point did I love playing a game now where when I get to the end, I am elated, or I am puzzled, or I am moved in some way. And I just think that this year's Call of Duty, even though it looked incredibly stunning on the Xbox One X, it looked amazing. There were some great set pieces, but it just left me with nothing. It just left me with nothing.
Did the gap from the previous World War II games help? So it could have been even worse if this had been just at the end of the World War II just barrage that we had 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I say, it looks amazing. There was some. It was really interesting actually, because my granddad was in World War II, and he was in a Spitfire squadron, and there was this one point where you're flying a Spitfire, and I was just thinking, I wonder, it was so realistic. I just wanted to kind of. I wish my granddad was still around, because I would have said, what do you think of this? Is this utter tosh, or does it actually kind of invoke memory? Because it looks stunning, as you can tell, from what I've said it about 8 times, it looks amazing, but it just leaves you with nothing.
Yeah.
It just leaves you with there's nothing there, there. But yeah, no, I don't think the gap or the fact that we've come away from a modern setting. I enjoy all of these, but these are just like going to see a movie, going to see a regular movie, and just coming away with nothing, feeling nothing. There wasn't any elation at the end. I just finished the game, and that was a little bit sad. That because I like when you get to the credits and you want to sit there through the credits, and you want to just it's either leaving you with your heart pounding, or
you just want to feel
something,
thinking, don't you?
Exactly.
Something, just
it
not
just
apathy.
Left me empty. Yeah. It was like something. Just give me something. Why am I dead inside? I blame Zack Snyder. And it's just like and there was. He filled me up obviously on Saturday, but it was Sunday morning, and I just finished it, and I was like, right, and I literally just popped the disc out, put it in the thing, put it back in the envelope, and then just posted it off to Boomerang, and there was no feels throughout that entire.
That's been a disappointment, because I guess over the last few years as well, they've got big name Hollywood actors to be like the lead villain, or to try and at least head up, because they had, what was it, Kit Harington a few years ago, they had Kevin Spacey.
Yep.
It's like they try and go all out to go, this is a Hollywood story, this is like the Christmas blockbuster that you will play through. So even if you don't think it's the most sophisticated of things, at least you can get that wow factor. Yeah. So even just on that basis, I was surprised they did pull it back to this, just the cliched World War II story of the American with a sweetheart at home, and it's like I've got to get back to her, and it just seemed, I'm not going to say safe, but I'm lazy. It just seemed like they just phoned the story in at that point.
I think there was a line in the trailer where he says something really cliched, like you're not in Texas now, boy, or something, and I was like, okay, it's that story done, and you kind of know. Yeah. You know from that line alone exactly what the story is.
And the first time you're introduced to this officer, who is played by Josh Duhamel, who was in the Transformers movie, and looks just perfect. It looks. You knew it was him the moment you saw him, and you knew exactly where his storyline was going. He's this disgruntled kind of, I'm in it, I've got a purpose, I know what I'm doing, we're all part of this big machine, we need to move, and you knew exactly where his story and the arc that his story and the loop that you would come back on his story, you knew exactly where it was. I could have written this. I could have written this game, and I could have written it out, and then I could have just handed it to Nicholas. She could have sealed it in an envelope. We could have played it, and I've just read it. It would have been pitch perfect, because it is.
It's the exact opposite of Wolfenstein, because, like I say, you see those stereotypical those characters in that game, and they go in completely different directions. Yeah. So you're right. It is the exact opposite.
Yeah. So I can't wait to play that now. That's kind of my next kind of game that I just want to. I'm still playing. I don't really need to talk about it any more than I talked last week, but I'm still playing like Star Wars Battlefront. I haven't finished the campaign yet because I got stuck on a flying bit, but I'm enjoying it. Kind of it's on a Sunday morning. Before I played Call of Duty, I just had a go of Forza. Forza crashed a lot on me, unfortunately. It kept crashing and not loading the next race. So I had to reinstall it. I don't know if it's the.
I've had a bunch of weird bugs in that game as well. Yeah, it's not just you. I've had like cars disappearing. I had one point where I was driving underneath the road, which was quite
awesome.
And also, I get a weird bug where you get the at the end of the race, you get all your credits racking up, and you get that credit sound playing. That just plays non-stop all the way through the next race until I turn the thing off and turn it back on again, and it drives me nuts.
Yes,
absolutely nuts.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
it's not the best.
So I had to uninstall 97 gig. So I put that away. So I just started downloading, and then I played some Star Wars Battlefront, and then I kind of got stuck on the flying thing, and then I was playing some of the multiplayer, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to finish off Call of Duty because I knew there was a couple of games that I wanted that were in my Boomerang queue, and then just kind of went on to that. So yeah, no, I can't wait to now jump into New Colossus and. I'm glad you told me that it's not HDR, because I kept checking for updates, going, why isn't HDR popping? Yeah. Why?
It still looks great though. That game, it still looks fantastic. Just one thing about Battlefront 2. Does the story get any better after the first 3 chapters? Because I played the first 3 and I quite liked it, but I've heard it kind of goes off a cliff after that. Is not the case?
Again, it kind of goes where you think it's going to go, without spoiling.
Yeah, which is a shame.
It kind of goes where you think it's going to go, but I quite like hey, look, here's Han Solo with a beard, and look, here's Luke Skywalker. You're gonna play as Luke now. I quite like those bits in it. But yeah. I'm really, I'm a sucker for a Star Wars. I'm sitting here in a Star Wars t-shirt.
Jedis do have capes, so I'm just
Yes, there you go. So obviously this is more of a Star Wars universe. They keep throwing in different planets. They keep throwing in characters that you know and love. You get Maz Kanata's castle. It's all of that sort of stuff. So I'm a sucker for it. But I think the campaign's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I did Call of Duty.
Cool. I'll probably wait for it to come out on EA Access or something and play it then. Yes. I think.
So what else have you been playing, Manny?
The only other thing I've played is a little bit of the new South Park game, The Broken But Whole, and that still makes me laugh. Sorry, The Broken Butthole, but The Broken Butthole, The Broken Butthole.
Fractured Butthole.
Sorry, The Fractured Butthole.
Just makes it sound better.
Yeah, The Fractured Butthole. I've only played maybe 2 hours of it. It basically seems like very much like the first game, but they've added a bit more complexity to the combat. They've added in like a little grid system in there, which makes it nice because as a little layer of strategy, which is cool. But it's basically the same game pretty much, which means it's funny, and that's fine. And it's a game you can play through and not really. If it's like the first one anyway, you can play through it. There's no difficulty spikes to it. You just kind of play it and get the jokes and get to wallow in that universe for a bit. It's kind of like the Star Wars game, really, I guess. But because they've only done, this is only the second game, so it's still relatively fresh, I think. And they've probably got maybe another one they can do, and then that's right. It.
Because the first one was like fantasy, wasn't it? And this one's superheroes. So I guess
this one's all about superheroes.
I guess they're getting to go a different way. You can almost see like a sci-fi one being the like proper like mechs and things being a next one or something like that. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what genre they're going to go for unless it's match 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they could go from there, to be honest. Or what's popular at the minute? I don't know.
Loot boxes.
I don't know. Kind of superheroes. An entire game based around loot boxes. Perfect. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. How about you, James?
Since I've last been on, I have started getting into Assassin's Creed Origins, because I bought this when it first came out, and then I realised that it came out on the same day as Mario, so I put it to one side, and this was my Xbox One X launch day treat. So I saved this for when all the 4K and HDRness had been installed on the hard drive, and it's first thing to say, I think, as we say with a lot of these things, it's a very pretty game. I've been playing it at work at lunchtimes every now and again as well, so I can see the difference between like the 1080 on my mini TV monitor at work and the full 4K-ness at home, and it's just lovely. Like I think the setting they've chosen for it really works as well, because when you're standing atop of a tall structure in Egypt and you can see across a city and there's a lake, and then in the distance there's the pyramids or maybe like the great lighthouse at Alexandria or something like that, it's really a game that just wants to show off vistas. The tech for that is superb at that point in time. But it's not just how it looks. I'm actually really enjoying how it plays as well. It's been a few years since I played in another Assassin's Creed. In fact, it might be the Vita release that I can't think of the name of. It was the one that was set in like the bayou in America.
Yeah. I remember it. I can't remember.
Yeah, it sort of came out around
either.
Assassin's Creed 3 time, I think, as like a
Yeah.
sister product. So I've given it a bit of space, and I think actually their space for a couple of years off has really paid off, because I just think it's great. It's not the greatest game ever, but I think everything that's in there is really solid. They've overhauled the combat. It's not just the mashing buttons for combos now. You have your shield on your right shoulder button, and you have attacks on your right shoulder button and trigger, so you can mix up light and strong. You can dodge out the way, and they've just put some more thought into it. So I don't feel like I can take on. Because before you could take on like 8 or 9 soldiers, couldn't you, and just wait for someone to attack, counter, and away you go. Now everyone's got proper health bars. You have to try and battle them down. You have to wait for your opening, and I'm sure as I unlock more powers, things will become easier. But right now, I'm enjoying that. Wait for the right moment. Shield, go in. Maybe a quick attack. Maybe a strong attack. It's good. It's involving, at least.
Did you say the attacks are on the shoulder buttons?
Yeah, I can't. I forget. I think it's like you've got a bow and arrow, so you can still hold left trigger to pull up your bow and right trigger.
Yeah.
So I think they've made it so that you can quickly swap between combat. So mid combat, you can pull up your shield on the left shoulder button, and then quickly pull out your bow and arrow. So that it felt weird to begin with, but actually when you want to try and mix those up, you can see why they've done it. It's worth getting into for that, at least.
Have you played Dark Souls at all? Because that's
is
that
it?
system basically. I'm guessing they've looked at that and gone, well, people rave about the combat in that, so I'm guessing they've swiped
fair
that.
dues.
But that's fine if that makes the combat better. Then fantastic.
I always skip Dark Souls because I was afraid it was too hard.
It is, yeah.
But one of my favourite additions to Assassin's Creed, though, is the eagle or the falcon or whatever it is. The drone that they've obviously just stolen from Ghost Recon and brought into it. So you can, at any point in time, you've got the usual detective vision that can scan the area or what have you, but you can also just call in your eagle and they will scan the area from above, and you have to highlight the enemies and just make sure he can see them, but it marks them on your HUD. And although this might sound like it's a bit cheaty, like you can just see all the enemies at that point in time, what I've found it does is actually allow you to do stealth in it, because Assassin's Creed a long time ago seemed to get away from the concept of being an assassin, and the fact that you can now go in third person and just stalk around this house or this battlement or this garrison, roughly knowing where everyone is and just being able to sneak through, pick them off one at a time. It might not be the hardest thing in the world because you can see them through walls, but it does make you feel like you're the assassin they're trying to make you out to be. It's so one of my favourite things at the moment is like going through the cities, finding a garrison, getting the eagle out, marking them all up, then see if I can clear the entire place out without getting detected. It's bringing back like the classic like Splinter Cell or the first version of Assassin's Creed where it wasn't all just combat heavy stuff. So that's really nice.
Are there any towers to climb? That's the question, or do you just get everything on the map from the?
There are towers to climb, but they don't unlock all the objectives in the local area. They actually just unlock fast travel points. So it's a nice way around it. So you actually get that incentive going like, well, it's been about a kilometre since I last got one, so let's go up this tower, and it's a far nicer way because the objectives just appear as question marks, and so you have to get close to see what they are.
Right.
It's the usual mix, take out this garrison, maybe do this little side quest for people. But I guess because they've lent into all the stuff that I've probably missed from the previous year, so I'm not quite sure what is now just commonplace and dull, but shipwrecks at the bottom of lakes, or you can take on animal nests, so you have to go off kill vultures and crocodiles to get treasures, and there's reasons for doing it as well, because there's nice loot that you get. This is very much a loot-based game, and you can get your purple shield and your yellow sword and your common, bracers. It's very much lent into you need to get better gear to get better as well.
That sounds like it's way better, to be honest. Do you said there are some kind of RPG elements in there as well, but do you get things like do you get numbers popping off in combat and that sort of stuff? Or
it does do that. I turn that off very early. You can see numbers fly over your
Yeah, I
head.
can
So I
imagine
just
that
left the
breaking
health
the wall a
bars on to give me at least an idea of how well I'm doing. But I don't
Right.
mind if this sword is doing
Yeah.
8 or 9. It's the the percentage points of how much is taking off is the
Yeah.
important thing. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And one of my worries going into it was the cities, I guess, because Assassin's Creed in the past has been a lot about scaling buildings and stalking through rooftops, and it's been that verticality that's made. Wandering through Venice and everything back from Assassin's Creed 2, it was just like you were pretty much just like a spider monkey, weren't you? Just like scurrying up walls and what have you. And I never imagined Egypt to be this, I don't know, a skyscraper-strewn world that could make use of your levels.
Yeah.
But they've done it quite nicely, because it's not necessarily like every building is tall. You still get temples, you still get palaces, but a lot of the villages are tiered. So it's not a case of you have to scale up a massive way just to get an advantage. It's just a nice way of taking shortcuts. So you have this Alexandria is on multiple levels with multiple, I guess, sections. You have like the Egyptian quarter and the Roman quarter. And the quickest way to go through most of it is climbing up this cliff or popping over this wall. So they've done some nice things while still retaining that key concept, I think, of the Assassin's Creed world.
Yeah, fantastic. I definitely need to pick that up.
It's
absolutely. I
really
think
nice
this
without
is
being spectacular.
I think definitely. I think this is like a post-Christmas game for me. I think it's definitely kind of one of those ones I want to jump into when I've got some time just to enjoy it. Is there much? So you're leveling up. You've got the RPG elements. You're leveling up. Is there a lot of grinding in there to try and to get to the next bit? Do you find that when you're not high enough because you're getting your butt handed to you? Is that kind of happening a lot?
It has happened. They do quite hand-holdy stuff, like telling you a recommended level for the quest and what have you. But I think because I've been into it, I've been quite happily doing the odd side quest on the way to the next story beat. And it does seem to have that slight JRPG nature where the next story beat will require a tiny bit of grinding, but it's more like just go and do 2 or 3 quests and you'll probably sort it out in between times. And the actual the stories that seem to unfold from the folks around you as you pick up quests from women who have had their house burnt down or men being attacked by tax inspectors, it's not amazing, but it's actually really good considering these are side quests. They actually put some effort into fleshing them out so they are different. Like I had to rescue a drunkard from an island full of crocodiles and things like that. They try and put little flavour elements, and I've even found that you can. There's treasure hunts. Effectively, you can go into certain areas, find a hidden papyrus cache, and it will give you a clue of where to go next. So, this is a world away from the Assassin's Creed I remember of stalk this man, steal this thing, kill that man.
Yes, yeah.
It's just nice to hear about a game in that franchise that's actually moving things forward. Because you had Assassin's Creed 2, and then it was pretty much up until Black Flag, and Black Flag moved things forward again. But the games prior to that and since then have just been kind of okay, but no sort of major changes. So it's nice to see him, like I say, take that break and actually shift things.
Yeah, absolutely. How does it handle the kind of quest system? Because the one thing that always puts me off of Assassin's Creed games, and I always buy them, always kind of play them around Christmas, but then you get to a point where you look at your map and there's so much to do. There's so many blips on your map, and I had the same from Witcher, and I try to control it when I'm playing a Far Cry game. I'm quite interested in the new Far Cry game that comes out next year, but I try not to get overwhelmed by side missions and things like that. Like I say, Witcher literally did that to me, where I was doing the main quest, and I kept stopping at posts, and then I would go, oh yes, I'll accept, and then suddenly I looked at my map and there was too much there. It was almost an overwhelming, very daunting experience when you open your map. Do you get the same thing with Assassin's Creed, or as you say, is it compartmentalizing all of it?
I think because I've been if I'm going to pick up this quest, I'm going to do this quest.
Right.
And then it gives you a smattering of story quests at the same time, maybe like sub-quests before you can do them. So I've had maybe like 4 or 5 quests in my inventory at one time, but some of them are almost like stored for later. There's one that's at least 10, 20 levels above where I am now, so they're obviously going this is where we're going. Fill in the dots in between. How you get there is up to you, but this is what we're going to head towards. And I think even the smaller one, they do allow you to sort by like sub-quests and story quests and other things. So they at least allow, I think, to streamline it all. It's not as I say, like the Assassin's Creed of old, where it's just like icon, 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 icon across the map. You don't. You can just leave those for later if you want to.
Oh, that's really cool. Do you guys get that? I mean, is that just me, or do you guys get that as well, where you maybe have unlocked too much on a world map and then suddenly become overwhelmed by it?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I tend to sort of switch off from all that content as well, unless I need to. Like, I'll try some of the side missions and stuff, and unless they really grab me, I'll just kind of switch off from them. And like I say, you just icons everywhere. Yes. And it just baffles me half the time as to why people go through half the content, because it's a lot of the time it's just filler and you don't need to do it. Yeah. So why put it there in the first place? But I guess you kind of have to.
Yes.
To keep people happy.
Exactly. Arkham Knight did a lot of that, didn't it? The Arkham games, not only did they have the Riddler trophies, but they also had a lot of side missions. I think it was Arkham Origins, maybe the one that wasn't the WB... The WB Montreal one, that was just that was so much, and it got to the point where I was like, no, I'm just going to mainline it because I just need to know how this story kind of ends and unfolds. But yeah, I just find that I just try and pull back when I'm playing open world games, but I love playing open world games. So it's a hard one. It's a fine balance.
Yeah, I think the only company that I actually play through all that stuff is any of the Rockstar games, like a GTA or Red Dead, or because they spend 5 or 6 years in those games, so they tend to flesh out every aspect of it. Those are the only ones I think that manage to do that properly, really well.
Absolutely superb. And then I guess we've got another game that we've all been playing, but we'll get to in a minute, but James is probably playing right now. But the only other game, I'll be very quick, the other game that I've been playing is Lego Marvel 2. So Lego Marvel came out on Friday, the new from Telltale, the new Lego game. And so far, Nicola and I, we put a night aside on Friday to just kind of play this. I got home from London, and we just said, right, well, we'll just play Lego Marvels, and so again, I did that disk sharing thing, not disk sharing, but digital sharing, where I downloaded it on one Xbox.
They're going to come after you one of these days, Anthony.
It works. I've found it now on the Xbox.
It's legit.
It's legit, but it works so well. And I just don't think people know about it, And it's like
no, they don't.
Like I say, it's on Microsoft's website now. But no, so we both sat there, and it was really good, actually, because normally Nicola plays it, and I watch her play it, and then I play it. So this time we actually got to play it together, and so her sound was on. I didn't have sound on mine, just so it wasn't just a crazy brick building kind of mesh of sound. But I'm really enjoying it. It opens with Guardians of the Galaxy. They open it so well. They open it on a song, and they just really just do the whole kind of movie franchise. It's very much in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's looping in different characters, and it's also looping in different universes as well, and different kind of permutations of the character. We've got a cowboy Captain America at one point is going to go in there. There's the other Spider-Man as well, like Spider-Man 2049 is in there as well. But I'm just really enjoying it. So we're playing Guardians of the Galaxy at the moment, so it's the Guardians of the Galaxy level, and then, like I say, you're already in the hub world, and you can already see where it's going to start going off into for Ragnarok. So we've got the deluxe edition, which then has the DLC for that. There's even Black Panther's going to be coming out later on next year. So there's going to be more and more content on this. But this is just a standard Telltale kind of Lego game. Looks stunning. It's not been Xbox One X or anything like that.
Telltale
it
or
did
Traveller's
look better.
Tales?
Yeah,
sorry,
I was just wondering.
I always get TT Games wrong. That's what it is.
I was really excited then for a second.
Style of
I was
game
like,
at that point.
You choose your own path, and
Yeah.
that. So yeah, they're well done. So TT Games, as I think they're now called. So yeah, it was just really good. I did notice the difference, like with Nicola playing on the Xbox One X and the upscaling of the TV compared to me playing on the 1080p, the smaller TV. You could see the difference between the two of them. I wasn't angry at all, or looking at smaller 4K TVs by the end of the night. But the game is just really good. It's just really good fun. It's kind of you have these bite-sized levels. You're trying to get your true believer, fill up your studs before you end that level, and it's just good fun. It's just a Lego game, and after playing Call of Duty and all of those other games, a good Lego game is a really good palate cleanser. after when I was playing it, I did kind of think, oh, this would just be really good on the Switch. And I think I have that for a lot of games at the moment. Like, I would really like to play this on the Switch, because I could see me playing more if I was like kind of like travelling up to Manchester or doing a commute or something like that. I could see me playing more of this game on a Switch. It is coming out on Switch. It's not out yet. It's coming out, I think, in December. It will be coming out for the Switch, so they obviously needed just a little bit more time to work on the Switch version. But no, I highly recommend it. If you like Lego games, if you enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then this is kind of ticking all the boxes, really.
Cool.
Great stuff. I played a little bit of the first one a long time ago, but it was more kind of open world than I was expecting it to be, so I sort of broke off from it. Because I didn't want that. I wanted the sort of level-based quick thing, but as soon as we hit the main city, I can't remember whether it's New York or somewhere else, but I remember looking around and just getting the thing with, the mini-map full of stuff, and it's like, oh god, I don't want this from a Lego game. Just give me short little bursts.
I can remember that being the first one after Lego City Undercover as well, because I think Lego City Undercover did the right sort of like size of open world, and I can remember Lego Marvel 1 might have just pushed it a little too much, maybe a bit too thin compared to what you could actually do in there, whereas Undercover had trinkets and secrets everywhere. So, but yeah, I still don't think I'm off my. I've played enough Lego games for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Although they are easing up, almost like the other TT. They do seem to be easing up nowadays. They don't seem to be the proliferation of Lego games that we used to have. Have they just run out of films to borrow from?
I don't know. I mean, this year we had Ninjago. We had Ninjago to come along with the movie, because they made a Ninjago movie, and then we had this one. But I think before that, they were very much stacked into Lego Dimensions, weren't they?
Yes.
I actually thought it would go the other way. I didn't think we would actually see any more of these big Lego games, because I thought Lego Dimensions had it sewn up that you would just get a pack, and you would get a Guardians of the Galaxy pack when that movie comes out, and a couple of figures. But it's kind of almost swung the other way, and you've got this, and exactly the same as the first Marvel superheroes. This is the same. You have that open world, you have those missions, you have those key missions that you can just mainline. But then, like me, if there's a couple of, like, if you want to get the Defenders together, normally there's an achievement for let's get the Defenders together. So I just do what I do is I'll finish the game, and Nicola and her brother, they will what we call in our house, they will duke it, because their name is Duke. They will duke it, and they will kind of get the 1,000 achievements. They will get the 100%, and they have to do so much to do that. And it's a joy to see. But I will go through the game, get True Believer on every level, and then there are a few achievements like I say, like getting Defenders or the old Avengers or something like that, or 2 Groots. You have to have Baby Groot and Big Groot, and I would just like do that and get that achievement, because they're quite nice, just things just to kind of tick off. So I quite like doing that, and then I'll just move on to the next game.
That's for me. That's achievements done right. That's like trying to make you play in different ways at that point in time. So I love a good achievement like that.
Yes, they do, and Traveller's Tales, they do those achievements really well. And I think there's always that little Easter egg or that little kind of fanboy, geeky, nerdy achievement that just makes you smile when you pop it.
Yeah.
What if they did a Lego Halo game, James?
The litmus test was Lego Jurassic Park. Like, Jurassic Park for me is the greatest film of all time, and I still just watched Ali play it. I helped her in a couple of co-op levels that I think, again, like certain achievements are unlocked just to make things easier, and I just felt nothing. Like, this was a game that was supposed to be calling to me. Like, I could play as a Lego T-Rex. Like, yes. How in a video game Lego T-Rex, like, all it needed to do was wear a Spurs shirt, and that would have been just like Nirvana.
Maybe play the drums as well in the background.
Yeah, you can't, because it's got really little hands, really little arms.
I was going to say, with those arms, that wouldn't really work, would it? No.
Maybe triangle.
Oh, superb. So there's one more game that we've all been playing. Who wants James?
I would be playing it right now if it wasn't for you two sods.
Just jump in, it'll be fine. No one will know.
Animal Crossing has come to ruin and rule our lives. So Animal
came out a day early as well. It came out a day early. They expecting it.
They teased us on Monday, wasn't it? They teased us on Monday to say the game will be out on Wednesday, and then halfway through Tuesday, the WhatsApp groups and Twitter and the amount of WhatsApp groups that lit up at that point going, have you seen? Have you seen? One with my brother, one with my sister, one with both my brother and sister, the family one with... It was just everywhere. That was just... So yeah, Animal Crossing has finally arrived on Android and iOS, and I'm... admittedly, we're just one and a half days into it, but I'm really impressed with what they've done so far, because Animal Crossing has been such a templated game, I think, since the N64, that I was figuring they would just do the same again, but on the phone. And admittedly, there are very, very stark similarities between the two, where you do collect fruit, you do go fishing, but they have done it in an interesting way that I think helps that... I mean, there is a free-to-play mechanic, so deep down we do have to acknowledge that. And so you have to build furniture and you have to attract friends. But I think in some ways those additions and the way they've stylized them has actually benefited the structure, because you don't just get animals moving into your village now, which is a campsite on this mobile version. You don't just get animals moving in because the computer said so. You have to earn them. You have to go out and talk to them. You have to go out and give them gifts. You have to go out and see what they want and go off and do little quests for them, which I really like, because it is mixing up the formula. And, cynically, that you can look deep down, there's they just want you to buy things to complete the quests. But it's no, the amount of time that I play Animal Crossing, which is probably like you were talking about with Stardew earlier, I will log on, do a bit, and then come back the next day or so. I will just go and tour the different locations you go to see what the shops are doing, see what's in the ocean at that point in time. And the fact you can just fish one-handed. I mean, we were sat watching MasterChef last night. I had G&T in one hand, I had Animal Crossing, I was fishing for half an hour in the other. It's that was my perfect evening. We're done.
That's some serious multitasking as well.
Yeah. It's kind of perfect for mobiles as well, because you're always going to have your phone with you, and it is the one game that you don't have to sit and play for an hour, because you do just you pop in, you dabble for a bit, and you wait for stuff to finish, and that's kind of what you did on the 3DS anyway in the previous version. So the phone is perfect for it, I think. And you're right with the timers, but in a sense they're just kind of exposing what was there anyway in the game, just putting a number on it and saying, okay, yeah, you can pay to have this faster now. But the wait is the same if you don't want to do that, so I've got no issue with that side of the game at all. I've got one question, though, because I'm still right at the start and still going around all the little campsite parts. Can you actually name your campsite or not? Because that's a strange thing.
No, I've been able to name my villager, but I haven't been able to name the campsite.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame, because that was a fun part.
Is it, Manny? Would you just sully my friend's leaderboard with your name of the campsite?
I would. That's probably why they've taken it out, and that's fine. But I will miss that part.
I'll just get Matt to name mine, because he named my Stardew Valley farm. So he just did such a good job.
What was it called?
Wangchester.
It was Wangchester
farm. Yeah. It was awesome. But the one thing I did like is that when you get to level 5, you get to change your tent. So I now have a rock and roll tent. I have this tent, there's a fire going, there's a bike that's parked there, and there's a Harley Davidson, and it is just badass. It is just...
midlife crisis tent.
Exactly. It's stopping me from buying a Harley. But no, it's so good. But I do like it. I have enjoyed... Like I say, the first day that we got it, I was playing it quite a lot. I was like, I really need to play some Star Wars. And I was like, no, I just play Stardew Valley. And I just sat there just playing Stardew Valley. And I just, no, not Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing. And I did just find that I was just playing that a lot, and it was replacing my Stardew time and my other kind of gaming time. But I just really enjoyed it. But I think one of the points that we were talking about before we started recording was the thing that I hated was I got all of the furniture that I needed to bring in a friend. So it says, right, you've got all that furniture, such and such will now want to come and visit your campsite. And I was like, this is awesome. And it was like, would you like to do it manually or automatically? So I said, automatically. Let's just do that. And I clicked on it, and all of my campsite was just deleted. It was just packed away into a storage area somewhere, and there was just these 4 really sad chairs at the table, and it was everything that this one character needed. All of the requirements needed to get them to your campsite was just there, but everything else was deleted. So be careful of that. Always click manual. Always click manual, because then when you click manual, it says, you need to place this, this, and this, and then you can then place them wherever you want in your campsite. But it was so scary. I was just suddenly, my design that I'd been doing for like a couple of hours, it disappeared. So I thought, no one's going to come and give me kudos in my campsite if it looks like this.
We had the same. We thought it was a bug. Ali, I think Ali also said, yeah, auto generate the things to get this villager in there, and yeah, she's like, where's my barbecue? My barbecue's gone. And so we had an inquiry to try and find out what had happened at that point.
It's not actually. It's not gone though, is it? It's just packed away. Is that right? Oh yeah, I was going to say.
Have you got? Because you get a camper van, so you have a little campsite that you have to build out I guess it's just a giant room, isn't it? Really, it's a giant room that you can kit out, and all the other villagers come along and see. But you do have a camper van that is your own personal space. Have you guys, gone to see the Lone Men to expand your camper vans yet?
No, as far as I've gone with that is changing the colour and changing the pattern.
Okay.
That's kind of it. You can expand your camper.
This is
really?
This is Animal Crossing. The mafioso loan merchant that is Nook has been replaced by, and I don't know if this is knowingly, because the people who you now borrow money from are definitely Italian. I don't know if they're leaning in to this mafioso image, but there's 3 brothers that run, I guess, like an auto repair shop, and they will upgrade and paint your camper van for you.
They are
so
awesome.
they're the people that I met to do the paint job.
They
okay,
are
so it's
awesome.
them. So
they are
they're
the
the
new
new
Nook.
Nook.
And there's 3 of them, so you can't take them. They've always got backup.
But they're so cool. They're just I loved doing that. I loved adding that personalised stamp. It is very kind of you can have stripes, or you can do this, or you can do this at the moment. But I really enjoyed just kind of adding that kind of personal touch to my camper van. And like I say, those 3 characters are just awesome. I think one might be called Carmine or something like that. It was just
Giuseppe
amazing.
Coloni.
Yes.
They've gone the full Sopranos route. Then wow.
I was saying to Nick, I was like, look at these. These are amazing. But they are just really cool characters as well. I really like them.
But the auto shop you probably saw when I apologise for these Americanisms, unless you're American, which I apologise for apologising for them. But you can see when you go to get them to spray your camper van that it's I'm not complaining about this, because at the end of the day you don't have to do it. But you can see there's the bells, which are the in-game earned currency, and there's the, what do they call them? What's the paid currency? The leaf tickets. And you can see that you can buy the premium paint jobs with the leaf tickets.
Right.
So it's you can see they're trying to get in there. But so far they've been really generous with how many leaf tickets they've given you. Like with every character, every villager your friendship upgrades with there's loads of daily quests. So they seem to be giving you them freely at this point. I guess that's going to slow down as you get bedded in, as you've caught your 100 fish and the next one's 1,000 fish. But yeah, it seems at the moment I like the balance they're striking.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're not paying for the game, then it's kind of fine, isn't it? If people want to chuck in some money, but like I say, as long as you're getting enough of that credit so that the people who don't want to pay can still get stuff, even if they do have to grind for a little bit, then that's kind of the choice you make with that type of game, isn't it?
Did you guys?
That's fine.
Did you both play Pokemon Go? I forget. I know.
Yes.
Faye did a lot, didn't she?
Yeah, Faye is still playing it. She's still playing it now. Yeah.
So Ali picked it up. She basically had this dilemma this morning as I drove her to the station for work. Like, do I go fish at this point in time, or do I get the Pokestops on the way to the station? So, but
one on the way there, one on the way back.
That's what she decided.
That's how you got to do that, right?
Did you guys put money into Pokemon Go?
No,
I did.
Didn't actually. No.
Yeah, I think I probably put about maybe between 30 and 40 quid into it.
I think I put 30 quid in as well.
In total.
And I didn't feel gypped by that at all at the end of it, because I put so many kilometres
absolutely
in,
fine.
or whatever metric you want to use.
That's it. Yeah. I got a good 2 months out of that, and I met people that I wouldn't have met before
really cool.
playing that game. It's that was something that I would happily pay for again, that kind of thing, because that was something new, unique. And like I say, Faye is still going on. Still playing it.
Cool.
That's superb. But no, I'm absolutely loving this. Animal Crossing is. Do you think this mechanic would transition well onto the Switch, or as you were saying about it, it works perfectly on the phone? I guess the only thing that I'm not it's quite a small world. Your campsite doesn't look like it's going to expand. I don't think at the moment it looks like it's going to get bigger, which I guess they could do if it was on the Switch. And also, obviously, the control mechanics where you're kind of tapping on the screen. But I have to say, it looks really lovely on the new iPhone, on that OLED screen on the iPhone X. It looks absolutely lovely. It looks stunning.
Yeah, I think they could. I mean, they can get away with doing one for the Switch, but I don't know if it would be the same design. It would have to be more traditional, I think. But again, you probably want them to wait another couple of years for that. I think now you've got this. I don't want anything now for the next couple of years in this franchise for sure. I do, but
I think equally they've put so many games out in the first 6-9 months of the Switch as well. You wonder what they've got left out of all the Nintendo franchises. So yeah, just leave this one a little while.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think there has to be a. I mean, we've got video game awards coming up in a couple of weeks and change. They're coming up. So normally Nintendo do have a bit of a showing on there. We've had Reggie has been on the Game Awards before, so maybe there'll be some announcements there. But I do think we need. But I do think it would be great to have a direct at the start of the year to just try and say, okay, this is what's coming in 2018, because we know that there is a Kirby game coming. We know there's potentially a Pokemon game coming, but there's been nothing solid for any of those. So you're right. Why have another Animal Crossing right now? But definitely, maybe 2019. I would love to see an Animal Crossing game.
For sure. For sure. It makes you wonder what they're going to do next year, actually, because like you say, they've kind of hit all of their major franchises now. Yes. So I don't know what they do next year, Nintendo. They certainly can't repeat this year anyway.
Yeah,
it's been phenomenal.
I can only hope that, with the like of getting Bethesda on board and maybe proving out to EA that it is viable, and all the indie games they've got, they will sustain a catalogue. Because I guess they still have things like Smash Brothers and see what variation on Star Fox they may bring out, and you say the Kirby game. So even though they push them towards like Christmas and one of the summer games, they should be able to sustain.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, Luigi's Mansion.
Oh my god! Yeah, if even if they just just re-release the one that was on the 3DS, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Exactly, that was such a great game. I mean, they could. I guess for the first couple of quarters of 2018, they could live just on the Virtual Console. Just bring out Virtual Console, open that up to GameCube games and N64, just sort of flood the catalogue with that, and that's going to keep people kind of happy and occupied for ages. I'd love to have some of those games on the go and just on my hard drive.
Yeah, for sure. Tell you the thing, I turned the Switch on yesterday and I was playing Mario, then I went into that store. I became nostalgic for like the days in which we didn't have 1,000 releases every week. Because that Switch store is still, you get maybe 10, 15, at max, but usually maybe 4 or 5 a week or something. And it just feels like a properly curated list, where the rest of the stores now just don't at all, I mean, Steam is shocking for it, but the rest of the consoles have kind of followed suit a little bit as well, so it feels nice,
Absolutely.
Not even being snobbish, because I think it's great that anyone can get a game out there in this day and age, but you're right, like there's a certain quality bar curation or just mediation that should happen, because you do find like there's a Madden out this week, and then you find games that they look like they should be on your phone sometimes around, like they're just like lurking right next to them, and I guess because they don't get any review coverage, you can't really decide what they're like before you go for them. So I almost long for the age of more demos, like back when was it 360 they were almost mandatory or just prolific. It was.
Yes.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
I think every arcade game had a demo.
That was it. That was the one I'm thinking about.
That's correct. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I sort of miss those days as well, where you had so few games, everyone was kind of playing the same thing and just hopping from game to game to game. Everyone was playing the same thing because that's all you had.
Oh, the start of the 360 like before the PS3 came out. You just saw the entire transient population go from Dead Rising to whatever the next one was. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, to Lost Planet, to Halo, to whatever it was after that. I can't remember.
Excellent. Right, should we jump into the news section?
Yes, sounds good.
Good plan.
Right, so before we start the news section, don't forget you can rate, review, and subscribe to this very podcast for free on iTunes and YouTube. So in the news section this week, Star Wars Battlefront sales are down, the Golden Joystick winners are in, and don't plug your Xbox into a surge protector. I'm worried about this one. But the first piece of news, James, is with you.
Yes, we're heading over to Steam for the first news story, and they're trying to combat the problem of review bombing. So in the last few months, this has been quite quite prevalent with the likes of actually PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Firewatch have both succumbed to it, where hundreds if not thousands of users from the Steam community will all go to the review page and downvote any useful or highly rated review, therefore tanking the average scores in Valve's algorithm. So you can basically get a game that was released 2 years ago that was reviewing really well, they upset the community in some way, shape or form, and the next day they're down the bottom of the recommended list. And this happened recently when Firewatch and their company Campo Santo, I think it is, they pulled any ability for PewDiePie to use their content on his channel due to PewDiePie, shall we say. And so PewDiePie's fans reacted and downvoted pretty much everything they could find on the Steam store that went against their hero. And so Valve, I think, have been trying to figure out how to combat this. And I think they, this is their latest stab, shall we say. They have been noticing trends. I think it's fair to say that you get some people who have a smattering of, they vote things up, they vote things down. This is normal. When someone downvotes 10,000 reviews, this is not normal, according to Valve, and that sounds pretty sensible, because this doesn't sound like a way a human would operate on a review page.
Yes.
So they are trying to put time and money and effort into trying to balance out this algorithm yet further. I don't know about you guys, just almost carrying on from the conversation we had before we start into the news. This just seems to tie into, again, just like the curation of stores, the curation of content, and the curation of people's reviews. And no matter how clever or useful they think the algorithms can be, there will always be something lacking, something that needs a human touch to go, no, this is a bot.
I actually thought Valve had tried to do something with this previously, because I think they brought in a system where you couldn't vote on anything that you hadn't played for a certain number of hours. But I'm not entirely sure if that was successful or not. Obviously, it wasn't, because you're still getting these 10,000 reviews, that are popping up here and there. So it can't have been that successful, I guess. But it's a real shame, because, like I say, you get these massive review bombs, and it's just people that are really annoyed about one specific moment in time with that game's life. And that shouldn't reflect it necessarily. Yes. You should have a way of viewing, I think, if something is bad right now, you kind of want to know. If a patch comes out and it's bad, then players should probably have a way of showing that somehow. But it shouldn't be reflected in the lifetime score for that game, because that's wrong. It could be fixed next week, but you still got all those bad scores and people that are angry because they've put loot boxes in, taken them out. It's a really difficult thing to do, I think. And Valve have tried a whole bunch of different things to sort of fix this. I'll be surprised if this does it, but yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
But it is quite scary that we are kind of seeing that mob mentality kind of popping up kind of time and time again on various, whether it's Reddit, whether it's Steam, but you are just, like you say, you're getting these people, these PewDiePie fans that were mad at Firewatch, they were mad at Campo Santo, so they react in this way. We had 600,000 people downgrading a comment from EA about Star Wars Battlefront last week that Steve and I were talking about, and it's just this huge kind of, and then, a story that we'll get to next, things have been changed by that, and it's almost kind of setting that precedent, isn't it? It's like, you release a game, people don't like it, they revolt, they don't, or in this case, maybe they have been showing with their wallet, but they don't show with their wallet, they just kind of go onto a forum, and then that becomes news, and then they have to react to that. And I just find that all of this, so whatever Valve can do to maybe try and stop that, that's a positive, isn't it?
It is, but I don't think you can discount all things, because I do agree actually with some of the sentiment from the story that you and Steve covered last week, with people downvoting some of the some of the statements from EA, because they put it out there. They were actually confident enough that this was going to be the deal. These were the numbers that they thought were going to fly at that point in time. And if it's like, if EA then put out a press statement and they don't agree with it, fine, just downvote it like anything. It's like, that's fine. This is a way to show your discontent. Like, because not buying it is one thing, but you still want to. I guess you still need an avenue to get your voice heard, and I prefer a downvote rather than a string of vitriol on someone's forums. But in the digital age, it's too easy at certain points to just downvote, isn't it? It's like the in the UK, there's websites where you can get petitions, I guess, up and running for the government, and if you get 100,000 votes, you can get it debated by Parliament. But they always seem, I don't know, I'm always quite cynical. I've partaken in some of them, but you almost think like, I've got 250,000 e-signatures. What does that translate to in real life? Is it an exponential scale where actually, that translates to 50,000 people? Does it translate to 100,000 people? Because how many people are bots from Georgia, or someone just clicking it because their friend sent them a link and they don't care? I guess it's that metric I think we're still trying to get used to in this day and age. What is an e-signature worth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at just having a quick look at Valve's store now, because it's been a while since I've actually popped on here. And the amount of data they've got for user reviews is insane. Now, you can see a graph on when the positive reviews and when the negative ones have come in, so you can sort of see where the spikes are now, which is great. And you can see when someone reviews, you can see exactly how many hours they put into that game, which is great. So you don't get people rating an RPG if they played 4 hours, and you can just instantly go, well, that's pointless. What's the point of that?
Yes.
There's tons and tons of data on here, so I don't really know how much more transparent they can make this, to be honest, at this point. It's kind of everything you need.
But will you ever look into that when you're trying to browse the store?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know it was there until I just clicked on the game and then browsed through a bunch of other data to actually get to it. So yeah, you're right. It's kind of surfacing that's going to be the problem, isn't it? In a meaningful manner.
Yeah. I mean, I don't go onto Steam because I don't really I don't have a PC. I don't really kind of play PC games. But do they ever have maybe kind of influencers that get kind of weighted higher? So it's like those famous people that their reviews are on Front Street, where everyone else's just kind of becomes.
I don't think so. They've tried. The thing is, like with Steam, they've tried a lot of things, and I say that with a sigh as much with a nod of appreciation, because they are at least trying. And I do, some of this could just actually work with just manpower rather than algorithms. But they have tried, like, what do they call it? Like curated catalogues or collections, or curators.
Curators, yeah.
And they might be, like a library or someone like you follow on YouTube. So their choices, their recommendations would surface to you more likely than Joe Blogs or you and me. And so they've tried that in the past, but that was more like recommendations rather than reviews. So if GameSpot, if Polygon, if Giant Bomb put a rating on Steam, it would mean nothing by comparison. It's just that drop in the ocean with everyone else.
I think that was actually a really good system that they put in there, but it's depending on it. Basically, it meant that people had to actually use it. That's the problem. And like Giant Bomb set theirs up, and they did it for about a month, and then they stopped. So it's kind of pointless. At that stage. Plus, even on Steam, if you do, those recommendations do get floated to the top more, but the sheer number of releases coming in kind of drown it out anyway. So there's just the sheer quantity of content on there is just too much now, I think. So it doesn't matter what system you put in, unless you can drown that out somehow, it's not going to have any impact at all.
Yeah.
Yoikes. Excellent. Right, the next piece of news, Manny, is with you.
Okay, so this is a weird one. It's a quick one. It's one that I was not aware of, but it piqued my interest. Apparently the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S have got their own surge protectors built in, which I didn't know about, which is great. However, the issue is, apparently, a bunch of users have run into that if you then plug your Xbox One X or Xbox One S into a surge-protected socket, it sometimes won't be able to draw enough power to actually turn on, which I wasn't aware of at all. Have you guys run into this?
I was just worried that you said it might burn your house down. I was just like, right, I'm going to go now,
that would be
I need to go and unplug.
Reverse the polarity.
I need to unplug an Xbox One X. No, I haven't, because I mean, I have currently, because we're out of the movie room at the moment. Mine is so far away from a plug socket, a wall plug socket, that I do have a very long extension lead that is powering multiple devices, and the Xbox One X is plugged into that. But I've had no problems at all.
No, I've had no issue with this as well, but it's worthy of a full-on Xbox support page, which I was shocked by. But yeah, so it's definitely something.
Covering their backs.
But there we go. If your Xbox One X or S isn't turning on, then that might be the reason why.
So that's a good PSA though, isn't it? Because if you've just got your Xbox One X, so you've plugged it all in, you've moved that brick out of the way because you had an original Xbox One, and then you just go to power on and it just won't do it, then maybe it's just because of your surge protector just is not is stopping that from drawing its own power. But it's really cool that it's got its own surge protector in there as well, because there's not a brick, so that must all be within
internal. Yeah, indeed. You think people that are spending £450 on a games console are probably going to plug it into some kind of protection like that as well? So I guess it's more prevalent on the X, but I'm not
Yes.
sure.
But
Sorry, my phone's ringing.
That's a powerful vibrate there, Manny.
I know. I could hear it coming through my headphones, so apologies for that.
what is just unlocked in Animal Crossing?
Yeah. Can we pause for a minute? Oh.
So now the next piece of news is with me, and this is, I was alluding to it earlier about kind of Star Wars Battlefront, but there has been reports that Star Wars Battlefront's launch sales are down by 60%. Now this is 60% fewer physical sales, but still kind of EA or the UK chart. This is in the UK, not in the US. We haven't got the MPDs yet. So in the UK, they are saying that the sales for Star Wars Battlefront are down by 60% on that opening weekend. Bear in mind that when Star Wars Battlefront first came out in 2015, it was the biggest selling game of that month, and now we're getting this kind of opening month has kind of it's down by 60%. Do you think that part of this is to do with digital? But I don't think.
I think some of it
60% is a big number, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
I think according to like all the data industry reports
Chart
and things
track.
I've seen, I always think about 30% is digital. Maybe, and I don't know if that's generous, but I always think a tiny bit more as well if it's an online multiplayer game. So something like Destiny, I would assume that more people are going to buy digitally, knowing that they would, always have to be online, so it'd always have to be in the tray itself. So I think that accounts for some of that, but I don't know where the rest has gone. I don't know whether it's because they just had their enough of the first one. Because I guess if you played the first one and then just assumed it would be another online multiplayer only, maybe that wouldn't float people's boats. Maybe people are still playing the first one. Because I always think franchises like Star Wars, like Madden, like FIFA, there are a core group of people with these who just are happy to have that, like the Xbox or PlayStation is the Madden box, and that's all they need. So if some people have bought like, this is my Star Wars game and I'm going to carry on playing this, is like maybe they just haven't seen the next one. This seems like a franchise that goes beyond the people who pay attention to what's coming out week on week.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely spot on there, and I think obviously because we have the Last Jedi coming out very soon, kind of at the start of December. Maybe this is when people will go and see that movie, and then maybe pick up that. There'll probably be an advert in the cinema for it before you see Last Jedi. And I think there was when I went to see the Fantastic Justice League. I think there was an advert for Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PlayStation. So I think that's obviously definitely going to be kind of pushed in your face when you go and see the new Star Wars movie, and obviously Christmas as well. You've got a dad, a sister, a mum who's a Star Wars fan. Give them this, and especially if they're gaming on, then you give them this, and this is something for them to play. It's Star Wars. But I kind of feel that because I think you're right, James. I think it is those people that just are. They've got enough at the moment. They've got Star Wars. They have enough, and even though it's very much kind of in our circle, we know about all of this pay-to-win loot box debacle that's been happening with EA. I don't think no one else kind of outside of the kind of, you have to be like a hardcore of hardcore gaming to know about what's been going on with EA, and I don't think kind of outside of that, the normal kind of Joe public who are probably not listening to gaming podcasts, they would probably know about that. So it was a very striking figure to see when it had dropped by 60%.
I think you're both right, because there's just going through the people that I know in work that picked up and played the last one. A whole bunch of people that don't normally play that many games picked it up and bought it just because it was Star Wars and had all the locations, had the characters that you wanted, and that's a tougher sell on the second one because they've already got that. So why do they need to pick up the second one that adds in some stuff from the movies that were a bit rubbish anyway? From that second batch, so they've got what they want, and it's going to be a really difficult sell to sell that twice in this short period of time. I think maybe when the film comes out, like you say, it'll give them a bit of a boost for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the draw for kind of everyone obviously is that single player campaign, but they obviously need to hit that home, and maybe over Christmas I can see this being discounted quite quickly. Your post Boxing Day sale in game, in Amazon, maybe even in Sainsbury's. your local supermarket, you're going to see this being discounted probably quite quickly and drop to, I've started to see games like Destiny 2 in Black Friday sales, which is this week. I've already seen they're started to kind of go down low, and I can see that Star Wars is going to go that way, even though in the news this week, EA have taken away all of the pay to win now. So if you go into Star Wars Battlefront and you go to the shop, you can't buy anything with real money. They've actually they put out a statement saying that they have listened to their passionate fans, all of those 600,000 people with pitchforks. They've listened to those, and they have reacted to it. Now, this all happened the night before it launched, so it happened last Thursday. I think Steve and I were podding on Thursday, and I think while we were podding, this actually happened maybe just after we finished podding, that the EA kind of said, right, it's out tomorrow, and we're taking away all of those microtransactions. So you can still grind to unlock Darth Vader and the rest of the unlockables, but you can no longer kind of pay to win. You just have to kind of grind to win, I guess.
I think what's probably happened there is they've not listened to the fans, but they've listened to a lawyer from Disney. I'm guessing that's definitely what that's all about, for sure, because there were some rumours going around that Disney were not happy with this whole thing, so I'm guessing they've put pressure on them to just rip it out for now, figure out a way to do it that isn't going to cause 100,000 downvotes.
But Disney must have known about this. Disney must have known about it. You hear stories from the cancelled Star Wars game that Disney required ultimate sign-off in so many things, so maybe the scale was what surprised them, but this should not be news to them. I would be stunned if they weren't in on a lot of this from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, and again, it's kind of what Steve and I were touching on it last week, where we were worried that does this hurt the brand? EA have Star Wars for 10 years, but when that starts to kind of get to the end of that contract, will Star Wars, will Disney start shipping and shopping around for other people to take their franchise?
Depends what the money's like, Anthony, at that point in time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. This. Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because I like to think that Kathleen Kennedy and Disney and all of those people that are looking after the Star Wars franchise are doing it because it's Star Wars and not just about the money. But obviously, money is always a large factor. But with so many,
the thing that the thing that I don't understand about it is it's all about money. So if it's all about money, surely they would look at the most successful game in that genre, in terms of loot boxes, which is Overwatch, and say, do that, copy that, because they've made $3 billion.
Yeah.
No other game has come close to that. So just copy what they do. They don't have any controversy. Everything is fine. Players love it. Why don't they just do that? I don't understand where that's coming from, because they're not going to make more money this way than the most successful game that's been in that genre ever, pretty much. Just copy what they're doing.
And it's really interesting to see that while all of this has been happening with Star Wars Battlefront, Need for Speed has almost the same system, but is almost getting a pass because everyone's focused on Star Wars Battlefront.
I nearly put that in my news, but they've done the same thing with that.
Have they?
They've slowly backed out of the microtransactions in that game as well. Not to the same extent, but apparently they've ripped out a whole lot of that system this week.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's a shame, because I've also seen stories from indie devs and smaller studios who, I guess in the same way to Overwatch, have done loot crates right. They were optional. They were almost like tip jars, especially for the smaller studios or so, and a lot of them have been, I guess, upset and dismayed because this is giving loot boxes a bad name. Done in the right way, like Overwatch, like for cosmetic things and not pay to win. I have no problem with loot boxes at all, because as we were talking about with Animal Crossing earlier, we don't have to use them. You don't have to give extra money to play the game that you want if it's done right, if these things are balanced right, and if these are not done cynically. And obviously there will be the outliers, but the more this goes on, the more smaller studios, smaller games that survive on the tip jar will just disappear, I guess, because you look at the race to the bottom in the iOS and the Android stores, where everything has to be free, everything has to be driven by adverts, or 99p is a rip-off, why should I pay for this thing? It's like they need to get their revenue somehow. And these mechanics were viable solutions to them, and they're being ripped away by greed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a really good example that you had not only Overwatch, but I think you've said previously on the pod, James, is Rocket League.
Yeah.
You know, that was for most of us, that was probably a free game that we got with PlayStation Plus. But I've happily kind of bought the Batman vs Superman pack, and I actually it made me buy it on Xbox because I wanted to then play that on Xbox with the people who only play Xbox. So I then bought the game again. So and then bought Gears of War loot crate and things like that. So I'm happy to buy those. But I guess it's that stigma that it now has, which is you buy this, you become great, you get Darth Vader early, and it's just I've not finished the campaign. I am about 16, 18 hours of playing of the multiplayer. Still haven't bought a loot crate, and I'm just really enjoying it. And I want more of these games, and I want more of the content, because what they did this time was they've given us a single player, they have given us all the DLC for free, which was the 2 complaints that you had from the first game, but now they messed up with the loot crates. You know, they went too greedy. They have apologised. I mean, EA. There is. I'll put a link to their. I'll put a link to their press release. But they did say, this was never their intention. They feel that they didn't get it right, and they're apologising. There was a podcast I was listening to where they were saying, it was a bit of a conspiracy. They're going, did they do this on purpose? Did they set it at 75% higher, and then to get all of this press and then reduce it the day before it's released? Did they do this on purpose? And I don't think they did. I think they just messed up. I think in a boardroom, someone showed them a graph of how much money they could make, and people will come back. They will stay playing their games. They gave some examples like Overwatch, like Destiny, and I think they just got it wrong.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll be honest. It's one of these topics. I think, like when we were talking about our dislike of No Man's Sky and stuff like that. It's like let's just draw a line under this. Let's just we could bag on this for hours, but let's draw a line.
I'll enjoy. Yeah.
There's no solution.
Enjoy my Star Wars, and we'll just move on.
Yeah.
And then so, James, the next piece of news is with you.
Yes, it's more numbers. It's more money. That's right. It's the exciting world of the budget 2017.
It's number one.
So I like to throw in a bit of politics every now and again. And today in the UK, the autumn budget was announced, and there was some interesting tidbits in there, at least for gaming and technology within the UK. Headline of which is that the government are extending the UK Games Fund. This was a fund that was set up about 4 years ago, had about £4 million put into it. And I know what you're thinking. That is not a large amount of money when it comes to game development. But this was to help small and medium-sized studios basically get off the ground to try and develop ideas and prototypes so they could then pull in more resources, pull in more staff, and then turn it into a larger release and hopefully, prosper and set up new jobs and what have you. So each grant was about 25 grand, so I guess that would be reasonably good for getting licenses for middleware or pulling in temp staff to sort it all out. So that has been extended by another £1 million, so hopefully there is a lot more in the indie scene that could come out of that. There's also been a rise in the tax credits for R&D, so this is basically allowing larger companies to basically for a tax write-off. If larger companies do development into new and interesting areas of research and tech and development, they can basically write that off as a tax refund and get some pennies back. And away from the actual business side of things, the government has promised to put in £84 million to upskill 8,000 computer science teachers, because supposedly a large proportion, the majority in fact, of schools didn't offer computer science as GCSEs. This surprised me as well, because you get computing, but I think this can basically be broadly labelled as do you know how to use Word?
Yeah, it's gone that way.
I mean, it was horrific when I was at GCSE level. That was what you do mail merge, and how can you set out a good spreadsheet? Which is skills, but not quite what I wanted to do in computing. So that money is going to be used to train the science teachers to actually learn coding and more to get them ready for the business world out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also
Brilliant.
£500 million planned to invest in the tech sector as well to develop things like AI, 5G, and full fibre broadband. The specifics of that were very fluffy and vague as far as I could discern, so I'm not quite sure the specifics of that. But overall, this seems to have been welcomed by the industry bodies, the UKIE and Tiger. They basically say any investment's good. Of course they wanted more. One of the pre-budget reports requested for about 23 million to be in the investment funds rather than one, so they were off by a tad. But the fact that the computer games industry specifically keeps getting mentioned in the budget is no doubt a good thing.
Yeah. I presume because if computing in GCSE has gone that way for the past decade or more, are you seeing that feeding through now to your line of work? Is it a difficulty getting hold of the right people, the right talent now with that sort of math skill set?
It's a broad mix, because I think what we find when we employ graduates especially is that you find that the passion will out. Like we look for people who are passionate, and usually that's what makes a CV stand out as well. Because we have I guess a recruitment firm that sifts CVs for us before they get there, and so I think we get protected from a lot of the lesser CVs, which is good and bad in some ways, because actually you really want to see the whole range so you can make your own choices at times. So
yeah.
A lot of us, I mean, I didn't start programming till I was about 16, so I think when I was disappointed with what I found at GCSE level, that kick-started me to get into programming. And I guess that you find that you see the people who have been coding for a long time. Like we've had outreach with kids who are like 12 who have made their own 3D engine in Java. It's nuts. So to paraphrase, Jurassic Park, programming life will find a way. It's like the passion will out at some point.
Crikey, I was just playing Sonic at that point.
But I've been trying to get involved in code clubs this year as well. That's like teaching very basic programming to like 8 to 12-year-olds and develop it on from that. And some of the kids there were actually saying they were doing this at school, and this is pre-GCSE. So you're finding that even like infant and junior schools are investing time and resources because they know it's a skill that's going to be required. And like certain programming languages like Scratch is like a drag and drop mechanic. Actually, Manny,
that's the one you can run on a Raspberry Pi, isn't it?
Yeah, you can run it on. You can run it through a browser. It's that simple.
Wow.
But you played Human Resource Machine, didn't you, Manny? Yeah, it's effectively like that.
I did.
Like you just like put a series of building blocks in order, and you get things happening. And
yeah, so it's sort of teaching you logic rather than code.
That's it, and I think as soon as you get that click for logic, then you can move on to something like Code Club also do Python, which is a scripting language, but they also put hooks into it to make it interesting. So in the last week or so, we've seen very simple Minecraft games like Sprouts, and like kids have been playing around with that or so, and I think it's just about encouraging the youth that there is not only an avenue, but an accessible avenue that they can do what they want with these things. And so if you get them at GCSE where they think a computing lesson will be boring, turn it around, get these people skilled up, and let this thing go into the schools, and you will find hopefully another generation of passionate engineers, games programmers, games developers as a whole will sprout.
Well, if there's one thing that the UK does well, or did well, it's that, that sort of lone coder type.
Yeah.
So yeah, fingers crossed we will definitely get that back for sure.
So yeah, that's the politics corner of the Lost Spark podcast.
That was awesome.
Culture, always the culture.
Always brings the culture. Right, Manny, next piece of news is with you.
Right, speaking of culture, let's go on to the Golden Joystick Awards. Woohoo! I was sort of shocked to see that these were still going. I didn't even know they still did the Golden Joystick Awards, because to me that's just Games Master, right? Did it spin off that?
I think,
or did the Golden Joystick come from somewhere
Games
else?
Master. Was in Games Master and then carried on living beyond it.
Yes.
It's lived the life beyond Dominic Diamond, amazingly. So we're into the 35th Golden Joystick Awards, apparently, which took place last week. Voted for by the public, so they're awards that are, I guess, worth something, which is great. So I won't run through all the winners, but we'll go through a couple of the good ones. So Game of the Year, they gave to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, so I don't think that's a particular shock. Best story went to Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, not particularly shock, I don't think. Best visual design, you can probably guess that.
Well, I can because I'm reading it, so that'll be cheating.
Yeah. It was never going to be anything but
it's a
Cuphead,
very
was
good
it, to be
choice,
honest,
very
with
good
that
choice.
style. Yeah, for sure. Best multiplayer again was a shoo-in with PUBG. If that didn't win it, I don't know what would, to be honest. A bunch of esports stuff, which is boring. What else we got? PlayStation Game of the Year was Horizon. Again, I don't think a real shock. Xbox Game of the Year, Cuphead. I guess.
I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
Sea of
not
Thieves
really
isn't
much.
out yet, so we'll give them that. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next
indeed,
year,
we can
next
give that
year.
a
We'll
pass,
get
for
that
sure.
next year. Yeah, I guess.
I guess that kind of sums up the year, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really,
it's been
there's not a lot. There's not a lot I can think of that would rival that. To be honest.
Did we have Gears of War 4 this year?
No, that was last Christmas.
We did.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Gears is a
Wow.
Christmas game, so yeah.
Oh, crikey. So I guess you got Forza, and that's
Yeah.
kind of it, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
Anyway,
Wow.
PC Game of the Year was PUBG as well. That's no surprise. And then the Critics' Choice went to Legend of Zelda again. So there we go. The
It's
golden
good.
joysticks.
The
Still a
one thing
thing.
I want to
Who
pull out
knew?
as well, they gave Studio of the Year to Nintendo, which I think was rightly earned just on the last 6 months alone. I think between Zelda and Mario, and
Absolutely.
we'll forget ARMS, but Splatoon and Mario Kart and everything. It's,
Everyone has forgotten arms.
Yeah, indeed.
cool. But it's a random mix because these were voted for by the public as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah,
They
they've
were.
got esports
Yeah.
play of the year, team of the year, game of the year. They're sort of drilling down into that section. You get the feeling if they add any more to that, you could have a whole esports award ceremony of its own.
I'm sure they probably do somewhere. There must be some kind of esports
Oh,
organisation.
I
that
meant
does
the Golden
that.
Joysticks literally spin off a competitive arm, as it were. That's
Yes.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love
indeed.
I love the last award in this list, which is the Still Playing Award. We're still playing. Yeah.
Do you remember
Still
this
playing.
one?
And that one, it went to World of Tanks, so which actually just
Yeah.
got a 4K HDR patch on the Xbox One X.
You will play anything with those tags, won't you?
Oh well, it's quite funny actually. My brother who lives in Canada, he actually that's what he does for a living. He's in the army and he drives tanks, and he also plays World of Tanks as well. And he's always tried to get me into it. I'm like, well, you have a head start. I said, why don't you play this game where you're a program manager? Then we can be on a level. But
What is this game?
Yeah, I don't know.
Post-it Note
but he's been-
Simulator 2017.
Exactly. It's a lot of charts, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of project plans. But he's always been trying to get me into World of Tanks, and maybe now that it's got like a 4K upgrade, maybe I will just jump
Now's the
in
time.
and have a look and see what it's about. Because have you guys ever played World of Tanks?
Yeah.
I actually I reviewed it way back in the day, a long time ago, and I made a lot of people angry because I gave it a 7 out of 10. And it was one of those sites that I was writing for that you never really got that much feedback, but that got a lot of feedback because I think one of the community managers posted it in one of their forums, and I was bombarded for a couple of months. It was awful.
You got the clicks.
It was all right, it was a tank
You
game.
got the clicks.
Sorry?
That's all you can hope for.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely worked. But it was okay. It is one of those games that does just keep turning up though. Because I mean, if you've been to EGX or
Gamescom is
Gamescom
huge.
for the past, in the past decade, it's been there
And
non-stop
not just-
pretty much, isn't it? Well, it feels like a decade. It's probably
Yeah.
about 6 years.
But not even just there. They have a massive stand, like to the point where I'm sure one year they have.
Yeah.
Do you remember like Celebrity Squares, like the American TV show where you had a wall of celebrities?
I remember this one.
Yeah.
The World of Tanks stand had effectively the Celebrity Squares, but with dancers. It's just
Yeah, I remember
insane.
that.
It's just huge.
Wow.
Dancers in very dubious clothes, if I recall.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, right. And then, so, I mean, it's quite interesting looking at that list of winners, because obviously we do have the Video Game Awards, which are the kind of, apart from the BAFTAs, obviously, we're amongst the BAFTA award-winning alumni. But apart from the BAFTAs,
thanks.
you're welcome, Manny. Yeah,
Appreciate
that was really good.
it.
So, apart from the BAFTAs, obviously, the Video Game Awards are the big ones. So, does this kind of give us that?
Are the
that
Video Game
lean-
Awards the big ones? I have to.
Oh, they are. I love them. I love
just because you love they've basically only been around for a few years, and just because Jeff Keighley really likes himself and really likes to put on a show doesn't make them an industry standard.
Oh, I love them. They're so good. They're so good.
I'm not denying they're good, but it's not
awkward.
the Oscars of this gaming industry. It's whoever. I'm cynical about those ones. Massively cynical.
I've not actually watched them before. Are they voted for by the public, or
yes,
is that a panel? Or
they are the nominations. They are. There's a panel of, and that's available on their website. So there's about 50 or 60 people who are asked just to cast votes, and then they cast all their votes, and they become the nominations. And then the public can nominate. Oh, sorry, the public can then vote based on those nominations.
Okay, great stuff. I might actually watch them this year because I think the only thing I knew about them last year was a bunch of trailers were due to come out, and it had Jeff Keighley, and that was kind of enough for me. So I might watch them.
They've done a few different variations though, because I remember a few years ago there was a massive stage show like it was the Oscars or what have you, and that didn't really work. And the year after, they almost had like this chat show, or like a casual morning chat show where they'd get up, announce a game, show a trailer, what have you, and then Jeff Keighley would retire to the couch to talk to a guest, and that was at least interesting because you felt like they were more than just straight interviews. They just felt, I mean, obviously it's still an interview, so that they got the PR man in the background staring ominously at the developer, but it at least felt it was a more casual and considered environment, I think, for that.
Yes.
So that at least helped me warm me up to them.
Yes, and then I think after that they had was it Haley Joel, or they had a comedian who didn't really get video games. It was just snarky, and it was just so bad. It was because I'm one of these loons in the UK that will be up at 2:30 in the morning watching this, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm missing sleep for this, and it was horrible. And last year was better. Last couple of years have actually been better. There have been more of awards, but the great thing about it is they do have that first showing, sneak peek, announcement. You had Mark Hamill come on and they announced the new latest Batman game a couple of years, and so it's if you want to kind of be part of the whole hype around the Game Awards, it's a good watch. And this year it's going to be in 4K. And it's so it's always worth a watch, and they're just going to be showing, and also it's just great to see Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima, because they really do just have a bromance, and it's quite nice to kind of see the two of them together. So you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to see more on Hideo's next game, so we're going to see that this year. So it's just that, and Borderlands was announced there. It's all of those kind of big games. We had, I think maybe Walking Dead, The Walking Dead and The War Among Us. All these games all got first showing, first announcement, all at the Game Awards. So it's a great night for new announcements as well as awards.
Oh, I might have to watch it.
I'll put a link in the show notes because I've already cast my votes. I think you could do it. You can do it once a day or something on Google. It's really bizarre. There's a trending.
We see a problem.
Yes, there's a trending gamer category that I've noticed on a few podcasts where they are just like touting one of the trending gamers, and every day you can vote. You can Google trending gamer award, and it will show you the nominations, and you just click on that trending gamer, and then you can do that every day.
Nice. Are you nominated this year? Or?
No, next year. I'm going for next year. I thought I'd let Andrea, Renee, and the guys do that next year. Obviously, for my
give them a chance
for my Star Wars Battlefront coverage.
Yeah.
Right, the last piece of news is with me, and it's always great when I can say the words Viva and Pinata and have a news story around it. And this week I actually have a legitimate news story around Viva Pinata, and that is that Rare have announced, James, your guys have announced. I'm
finding out this now. This is new. Carry on.
So Rare have announced that they are teaming up with I Am 8-Bit, that great website that deals with some really great gaming merch. So they're teaming up with I Am 8-Bit to release some classic vinyl, limited edition, special edition vinyls. So these are going to be the soundtracks to Battletoads, is getting one, and Battletoads has a great cover. All of these that we're going to talk about have great cover, and I'll put a link in the show notes. So we've got Battletoads is going to be released. Conker's Bad Fur Day is going to get a double vinyl release, so it's two vinyls, and the cover to that is just awesome. But as I was alluding to, my favourite is that we're going to get a 2-disc Viva Pinata soundtrack featuring Grant Kirkhope's orchestral score, and also it's going to have some previously unreleased stuff from both Viva Pinata and also Trouble in Paradise in a really cool looking kind of vinyl sleeve. So I think it's just a real close up to a Horstachio, isn't it?
It looks amazing.
It does.
They all. I love what I Am 8-Bit do with their covers completely. They because this is sorry to pick you up on this, Anthony. This is Battletoads in Battle Maniacs.
Oh.
So this is because they've already done Battletoads themselves, because that was their cover for that was amazing. I've got one,
right,
and it had a picture of a Battletoad being dragged along by one of the speeder bikes, and you'd open it, and one of the early pressings actually had, you know, like the birthday cards in Clinton's where they open and play Happy Birthday. You'd open up the Battletoads LPs, and it would play the Battletoads theme tune in 8-bit at you.
Wow!
Awesome.
So like
That's
they go
amazing.
to town on these things, but also like the Banjo and Kazooie one they did back in the day, just a couple of years ago. Sorry, they just take an artistic license. So Banjo was literally a bear, and Kazooie was literally just a red bird perched on his shoulders, like biting into a jiggy. It was. They just have fun. It's not just like a reproduction of a game cover or of some concept art. They do some bespoke, lovely stuff for these. So I recommend having a look at the links just to see the covers alone.
Yes, the Conker's Bad Fur Day one is just amazing. It's almost, you would expect to see that if this game was released in the 80s. You know, that would be the cover of the cassette that game.
Yeah,
you know.
I was thinking like a Christmas annual.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. That's exactly it. But the Viva Pinata one, they will be going live on Friday on I Am 8-Bit, so probably the day this pod is released. And so it's going live on Friday on I Am 8-Bit. They are limited edition. They are around, I think they're about $28 $38, $39 for the 2 discs, and $28 for the 1 disc. So the Battle Maniacs is $28, and the rest is $35. And I just think it's 8:01 on Friday. This will be going live, so hopefully this pod will be posted, and you might be listening to it and go straight over to I Am 8-Bit. But I love that. I love that Viva Pinata one. I think the Viva Pinata one is just. That would be so cool to be framed and hung in the movie room, and just that, and the actual records, the vinyl themselves are kind of it's a blue and a pink, obviously you're matching the colours of the pinatas, and I just think it's awesome. I think it's absolutely superb.
Yeah, I think if you were going to frame that, you'd want to frame every single part of it. That's the problem, wouldn't you? Because it all looks stunning, like the inlay, the discs, everything.
I have seen a frame on. Is it Etsy? Is the website Etsy? I've seen a frame where you can have. It has the cover, and you can pull the vinyl out. So there's basically a square for the cover, and then just an inset, so you can pull the vinyl out. So you could do that with one of those discs. So. But it just feels a shame that it's not being played. It needs to be played. I need to get a record player.
Do they come with MP3s as well, or is there? Yeah, it includes a digital soundtrack. So even if you do mount it, then at least you've got some MP3s to listen along with.
Yes. I guess, that would be fantastic for the previously unreleased stuff, because I already have the Viva Pinata soundtrack. That's obviously, that's regularly kind of around my office when I'm working from home. It's just quite nice. It's just quite nice.
I listen to it in the car. If I need to calm down, I listen to that. I'm calm and serious.
Yes. By the time you get home, you're just all happy and just... So yes. So that's it. For this episode. Big thank you again for listening. Big thank you guys for joining.
It's been a pleasure.
No problem, sir. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
I'm loving this. This is fantastic. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're at LostSparkPod. You can also find us on YouTube, and also the Gamers of Lost Spark PS4 Community and Xbox One Club. James, where can people catch up with you?
I am Big Sheep on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Nintendo, and Animal Crossing.
Superb. Manny, where can people find you online?
I am General Garcia on Xbox and Steam, Presidente Garcia on PlayStation, and Manuel_Garcia on Twitter.
Fantastic. From me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch, PS-Chessman on PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. That's about it. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Ta-ra. I have one final one. If we're still recording, Animal Crossing ID 3, 2, 3, 1, 7, 4, 1, 5, 3,
6,
4,
9,
1,
8.